Wọ́n lólùfẹ́ mi ń dẹ́rìn pa mí, wọ́n ti ń jù ú sí mi lórí WhatsApp. Ẹ ṣé, ẹ kú àdúrótì, Ajokeade. Ẹ káàbọ̀. A kú Saturday, weekend, olóyin. Ẹ ṣáà ti mọ̀. Ẹ má fi mẹ́séèjì pa mí. Ẹ má fi mẹ́séèjì pa mí o. Mistake ni, ọdún 5 kọ́. Ọdún 5 kọ́, ta ló mọ̀gbà tàsìkò? Ẹ bọ́ síta kẹ́ tún wọlé. Ẹ bọ́ síta kẹ́ tún wọlé. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, ẹ káàárọ̀, ẹ kú ojúmọ́. Ṣé dáadáa mo bá yín? Ẹ̀rín náà la máa rín níwọ̀n yantí yóò kù. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ nítorí Ọlọ́run. Maybe bóyá setting mo ti ṣe mistake níbì kan. Kí ni màá ti ṣe sí? Kí ni màá ti ṣe sí? Bóyá mistake. Ó lè jẹ́ mistake. Kí ni màá ti ṣe sí? Èmi ò mọ̀ ńpa yẹn o. Mi ò mọ̀ ńpa ẹ̀ o. Ẹ try again, but Àkànní ráyè wọlé lánàá now. Àbí nítorí pé ó jọ́kọ mi ni? Àkànní wọlé, ó dẹ̀ comment dáadáa. Kódà ó tún jáwọ́ sí mi. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́. Ẹ̀rín la máa rín o. Bẹ́kún pẹ́ lọ. Ayọ̀ ń bọ̀ lówùúrọ̀. Kí lẹ ti fẹ́ kí n ṣe ńgbà yẹn? Ẹ lọ síbẹ̀ kẹ́ lọ tẹ̀ ẹ́. Mistake lọ́lọ́dún 5 yẹn. Nígbà témi gan, Ọlọ́run ló màsìkò àsìgbà. Ṣé ẹ mọ̀ bó bá ti dọ̀rọ̀ oní technology pé ó dé bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn, Àjọkẹ́, Oyeolorun, orúkọ ẹ̀ ló máa ń rù. Ní pápàpá, ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Mo kí yín nílé lóko. Ní gbogbo ibi tí ẹ ti ń gbọ́ èmi ọmọ yín, olólùfẹ́ yín, Ajokeade, ìyá òjìrọ̀ èyìlà, wíníwíní lójú orogún, èjìwọ̀rọ̀ lójú ìyẹ́. Wọ́n lẹ́ni tí ò bíbejì kò lè nídòwú. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Àwọn èèyàn mi dà, mi gbúrò àwọn èjìrẹ́. Kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀? Kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀? Gbogbo nǹkan tó bá ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ náà ni l'Àjọkẹ́ máa mú wá fún wa. A dẹ̀ kú ètò àná. Wọ́n ní quality is better than quantity. Àwọn olóyìnbó ló sọ bẹ́ẹ̀, àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ náà ṣe sọ. Ṣókí náà ni tó bá ti dà. Ṣókí kì í ṣe pé wọ́n gangan. Ẹ ṣé àdúpẹ́. Ẹ rí ètò tí mo mú wá fún yín láàárọ̀ yìí. Ẹ dẹ̀ rí èyí tá ṣe lánàá pẹ̀lú bàbá wa Ọlọ́runṣẹ̀yẹ. Ó wá dàbí ìgbà tí èyí tó tún wáyé yìí ńsìn láti ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá, ó tún fẹ́ ṣe bákan. Ṣẹ rí ọ̀rọ̀ ẹlẹ́sìndé yìí? I don't know. Bóyá nítorí ẹni tí ò bá dẹ̀ bóyá ẹni tí ò bá kéwú lọ títí ni, àbí mi ò mọ nǹkan tí mo lè sọ nípa ẹ̀. Àti ní ti Muslim àti ní ti Christian, nígbà míì bí ìgbà tá máa ń confuse ara wa. Ẹni tó bá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ fẹ́ wọ̀, tó bá ń gbọ́ oríṣiríṣi, ó máa wò pé kí leléyìí? Níbo là ń lọ? A máa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀. A dẹ̀ tún máa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa professor wa. A ní professor wo, tá bá débẹ̀ ẹ gbọ́ ẹ rí wọn. Suspense. Then àtọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation torí a ní ṣe káyé a má mẹ́nu débẹ̀. A ní ṣe ká má mẹ́nu débẹ̀. Torí ọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ wá lógún ni ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation. Ọ̀rọ̀ tó dẹ̀ kan gbogbo wa òun ni. Nítorí náà má sọ́kàn sí ńbẹ̀. Now kí n má fi àkókò ṣòfò, ẹ jẹ́ kí n sáré kọ́kọ́ wá lọ sí ti níbo ni kí n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀? Mi ò ní play ẹ̀ púpọ̀ tán torí ó gùn ṣùgbọ́n màá sáré yànnàná ẹ̀ díẹ̀ ká gbọ́ nítorí pé ó ti wáyé tí èèyàn kan bá mi discuss nípa ẹ̀ pé kí ni mo ṣe rí sí, ìyẹn ni mo ṣe tún fẹ́ gbé wá pé ojú tí àwa náà bá fi rí nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀, ẹni tí gbogbo wa mọ̀ dáadáa náà ni wọ́n. Ṣùgbọ́n kí n tó bọ́ sọ́dọ̀ wọn, torí àwọn ọmọ wa olóyìnbó náà, ẹ jẹ́ kí n kọ́kọ́ gbé bàbá wa sí kí n tó wá lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ bàbá Sheik, bàbá olóyè Ìgbòho. Màá dẹ̀ tún ka àwọn nǹkan èrò àwọn èèyàn, nǹkan tí wọ́n rò nípa ohun tí bàbá sọ. Torí èèyàn máa ń fi ọgbọ́n ọlọ́gbọ́n, èèyàn máa fi ń ṣọgbọ́n ni. Èèyàn máa ń fi ọgbọ́n ọlọ́gbọ́n ṣọgbọ́n. Ẹní bá ní tòun nìkan ló ń yé òun, àfòun, irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ n gbé sí káròyé má pọ̀ jù. But ẹ gbọ́, ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ti gbọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n ká kàn gbọ́ torí bàbá mi kan tó pè mí pé kí ni a rí sí. Mi ò ní jẹ́ kó pẹ́, a ní gbọ́ tán ṣùgbọ́n àwọn ibi tó ṣe kókó la máa sáré gbọ́ níbẹ̀ ká tó tẹ̀síwájú. Ẹ ṣé, ẹ káàbọ̀ sórí ètò. Bàbá mi tẹ ju kinní sí mi. Tẹ́ ń béèrè ìbéèrè nípa pé ẹ try lánàá láti pè wọlé. Bóyá setting náà ni. Ẹ gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá wa sọ.
What we've been busy doing is that we've been electing new leaders while over the last month or so, presidential, National Assembly, governorship, state houses of assembly. What did you make of the whole process? We've done it again, another time. Probably the 7th time for those who are counting from 1999. What did you make of this one?
Well, not exactly the most edifying exercise that we've been through. I've been away, of course, quite a lot, and deliberately, since I was going to be physically away, I preferred not to make comments. But that didn't mean I didn't receive from time to time reports and from what was happening here. And it was not altogether unanticipated for one simple reason. The nation was moving towards a situation not planned, just one of these things which happened fortuitously, where the existing mold was going to be broken. And the signs were there that there would be die-hard opposition to the breaking of that mold. In fact, my apprehensions were on such a level that Emeka Anyaoku, the former Secretary General of Commonwealth, and I, with whom I interact quite a lot, decided at the last meeting before I traveled out that we should prepare a statement, a formal statement, appealing to the politicians not to let this mere electoral process be the commencement of a total unhealable rupture among the politicians. And I think before I was supposed to send him a draft, which we then both look at. Something happened anyway, I had to dash out immediately, and that was that. But elections should be keenly contested. But I still believe very much in what I call the Fashola dictum. You may remember at one time he said that elections should be like festivals. There should be yet another aspect of the festive spirit of humanity. And this was anything but festive. What is most distressing, in fact, so distressing that I felt I should reach out here from my base in Abu Dhabi at New York University. I should reach out and try and make a statement. Unfortunately, the technology didn't work because I was going to make an appeal from
Absolutely.
And also just putting an oar into the troubled waters. But again, the technology
made that difficult, if not next to impossible.
Yes, but thank you. So, but on arriving, of course, I checked. I came in for the World Poetry Day, and immediately, of course, I was bombarded by the most horrendous tales, narratives, both pre and after election. Since then, I've also read columns. I was seeing Nigerian papers for the first time in months, and I didn't like what I read at all. It's like trust has broken down completely, and even the restraints, the minimal restraints that we've learned to expect from seasoned politicians have been jettisoned completely. And then my mind also went to, because we're now moving into certain aspects of what I have observed and also interrogated. I had to go back in the archives to meetings which had been held before, 3 to my special recollection, one in Enugu, one in which was organized by doctors, a doctors medical association in the United States, South United States, where I lectured, right. And the third one at the Muson in Lagos on the theme Hands Across the Niger. And the last one I think was Hands Across the Nation, and I delivered lectures there. And with those civilized encounters, with the give and take, the very calm analysis of our history, the prospects, etc., I just couldn't help wondering how things deteriorated so fast, unraveled so fast. The promise of all those meetings, the inter-ethnic understanding, and a very calm and calculated clinical approach to our history, and I said the prospect. So it hasn't been a very pleasant homecoming for me, personally.
Now, many people hearing you say this would be surprised because this would be possibly your first comments on these elections. But if what we read online were to be believed, you had made several comments in the recent past concerning these elections. And so when people try to square that with what you're saying now, they get confused. Did you, in fact, make those comments? For example, did you say that regardless of who is in Aso Rock, the North would be ruling Nigeria, would be in charge of Nigeria, so you're not really bothered about who's in Aso Rock because that would always be the case?
I was horrified when these statements were sent to me. I can tell you, I'm repeating, I have not made a comment, deliberately stayed away from making a comment. Since the electoral pistol was fired, I have not said anything in public. In private, of course, I've discussed things, but I've never made a statement. And we've denounced these, both myself and those who look after my affairs, we've denounced this fake news over and over again. And all I have to say now, I mean, and we've been closing down certain portals which we were able to, fake platforms attributed to me with my photograph. The whole process been so sickening. And I'd hope that while I was away, being away physically would even lessen the orgy of falsification. On the contrary, it seemed to have worked the opposite way. It was like, oh, he's away, he won't see it in time, and we would have done the damage we want to do anyway. And it's and what sickens me even more than those who actually write it is the way it is circulated among ordinary intelligent people who do not throw away this garbage or come out. As occasionally somebody like Sholade, for instance, I remember, when he, even without contacting me, and said robustly, Wale Soyinka could never have said such a thing. And this, for me, is the kind of posture which intelligent Nigerians should learn to adopt by now. I mean, if it was possible for somebody to fake a platform named after the new Nobel laureate and use that platform to announce my obituary, yet another death, saying I dropped dead. I use the expression, creating distress, among people. I mean, I enjoy it when I read it.
Yeah, you took
but
it
I
last
stopped.
time, this time.
I don't enjoy it anymore because I know it is causing distress, emotional distress to a number of people. And on the other hand, it is creating an atmosphere which is extremely dangerous for this nation. When things are attributed to me on that level, in which I'm supposed to be speaking sweepingly about ethnic groups, about religious groups, and so on, for me, this is a conspiracy towards chaos. Because people will take it, some people, those who take it seriously and say, I see. Well, this is where he is now. Well, we had better now go our own way. It's very dangerous. And I really wish, in fact, I was telling of one young semi-protege of mine. He was asking me why I hadn't commented on what's going on. I said, please, just get away. Where have you commented on all the rubbish being attributed, being stuffed in my mouth in my absence? You're a columnist, you're on a newspaper, you have your platform. Have you actually come out aggressively to attack this phenomenon, this evil of fake news, fake attribution? Not a word have I spoken until this moment publicly on this election in any aspect. So what does one do with that? Mm-hmm.
But do you think, Prof, it's our own understanding of the nature of democracy? Because a number of people I've spoken to, of course, very few of them have the kind of experience, the kind of knowledge and background that you have, say that partly our problem, if you want to call it that, or our challenge when we come to this election cycle is that for many in our own society, democracy is about elections, whereas elections are only a part of democracy.
That's right.
The other equally important, possibly even more important part of democracy than the actual election. Do you agree, or do you think that it is correct to say that we do not understand democracy as a people, and therefore that is affecting all these outcomes, especially when we go through this exercise every 4 years or so?
Well, I don't think it's that we do not understand democracy. Is that certain stakes have been catapulted to the fore and have come to overwhelm what should be the real stuffing of the democratic process. I'll give you an example. In fact, one of the reasons why I refuse to endorse any candidate or be seen, forget what people put in my mouth, is that as far as I was concerned, none of the candidates for me actually addressed things which were closest to my heart. Like, again, reconstructing the nation. Yeah, there were token statements here and there that I read, but I didn't really see any genuine commitment, any believable agenda about quote-unquote restructuring, decentralization, which is at the heart for me of Nigeria's problem at the moment. People were more concerned, in my view, with just aiming for power. Now, it's not all about reconstruction. There's also the redressing of history. Let me explain what I mean by that. I mean the things which Nika and I used to discuss and even work towards. For instance, we believe that to close this circle of negativities that we have embarked upon just before and including the Civil War, I happen to believe, for instance, that the presidency, as soon as possible, should go towards the eastern region, which lost a war. That this is one of the ways to heal the wounds of the nature. Now, that is a principle, a philosophy. And towards that end, for instance, I could reveal to you, when I formed a party at one time, the Democratic Front for the People's Federation, right, which Obasanjo at the time refused to register. I mention him because he was the one dictated to INEC, so don't tell me I should say INEC. Let me anticipate that. And then we teamed up with the African Renaissance Party, which was registered. So a small party who had an office along the Badagry Road, but at least they were registered. And our candidate at the time was Patutome. You know, many people don't remember that. Didn't work out. No, doesn't matter. These things don't happen suddenly. It's a progression. The following election, Emeka Anyaoku, for instance, phoned me one morning and said, "Have you heard about this young man called Kingsley Moghalu?" And I said, "Do you think he's the kind of person we're looking for?" He said, "I think so." So we met, and we decided we're going to back Kingsley Moghalu. Later on, for reasons best, which I didn't even bother to probe very much, Anyaoku sort of withdrew a little bit. I was left holding the baby. I didn't mind. I enjoyed it. You know, I believed in it, absolutely. But what did I get? What did I get in response from quarters which I thought would understand what we were trying to do? They came at me and said I was splitting the votes of the Egbo. And, you know, when I encounter situations like that, I come close to saying, do these people understand the complexities of democracy? That democracy is actually linked up, you know, with issues beyond the immediate. It's linked up also with history. How did we get here? Is this where we want to be? How do we get out of it? What are the various prospects? And you strengthen democracy by using democratic means of making changes to arrive at your vision of society, which is what I've always done, what I've always believed in. And when I encounter a situation where the ethnic issue, which is permanently there, you know, or the for a lot during this election, or the religious issue becomes paramount, rather than a holistic look at history and a commitment to change within society, then I come close to really thinking with you that maybe what you just said was right, that maybe our people have not really, you know, penetrated through to the intricacies of democracy, to the principles, to the imperatives in a total comprehensive manner. So that they only pick at one time, or one thing, one strand at a time. They worry that strand to death. And in the process, they strangle one another where possible with the strands, those bits and pieces that they've taken out of totality. And of course, there are opportunists. There are opportunists. They understand what democracy is about, but they also know how to manipulate the processes of democracy, how to twist the urgencies, the imperatives of the democratic ethos. They know how to twist it. They know how to play on raw emotions, on primitive instincts. They know how to just set one side against another simply to arrive at their goal, which is power. Unstinted power, selfish, alienating power, just power. That's what they're at.
Now, Prof, you earlier said that even though it was disappointing, you were sad to learn about quite a number of the things that were reported to have happened, but that they weren't really surprising because there had been a build-up even before you traveled. And that then led me to think, perhaps, what was this build-up? Because for many people, it came as a shock, some kind of surprise. They were bewildered largely, and maybe with the benefit of hindsight, to some extent naive about the workings of our own society. Many people assumed that we had overcome quite a number of the religious differences because there was so much intermarriage and all of that across ethnic groups and so on, that, look, quite a number of these things we had put behind us, only for them to resurface and resurface with a vengeance in this election cycle. Is that perhaps what you meant by, what exactly did you mean?
Yes. All right. So there are building blocks towards the democratic edifice, always. And what we're witnessing is that as those building blocks, and by that, I mean meetings like Hands Across the Niger, Hands Across the Nation, private meetings, group meetings, always with a focus in mind where you want to go eventually. Like, what kind of system do you want? What kind of ideology should bind all of you together? And which political party best promotes that ideology? All those building blocks have been knocked away. So that there was no difference left between, for instance, the two major parties. Movements of individuals across a totally vitiated identity, ideological identity. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Now, another building block, when we told the youth, listen, you have enormous voting power. Why don't you meet among yourselves? Give us a consensus candidate. I met literally all the young people. I'm talking about the last election,
Not this
one. No.
Right.
The last one, I met all the young people. I addressed them at a place not far from Alausa collectively. Address them individually in twos and threes.
I want to listen to that again.
Which is permanently there,
Yeah, to for a lot during this election.
Or the religious issue becomes paramount, rather than a holistic look at history and a commitment to change within society. Then I come close to really thinking with you that maybe what you just said was right, that maybe our people have not really, penetrated through to the intricacies of democracy, to the principles, to the imperatives in a total comprehensive manner. So that they only pick at one time, or one thing, one strand at a time. They worry that strand to death. And in the process, they strangle one another where possible with the strands, those bits and pieces that they've taken out of totality. And of course, there are opportunists.
Who also manipulate the space.
They understand what democracy is about, but they also know how to manipulate the processes of democracy, how to twist the urgencies, the imperatives of the democratic ethos. They know how to twist it. They know how to play on raw emotions, on primitive instincts. They know how to just set one side against another simply to arrive at their goal, which is power. Unstinted power, selfish, alienating power, just power. That's what they're at.
Now, Prof, you earlier said that even though it was disappointing, you were sad to learn about quite a number of the things that were reported to have happened, but that they weren't really surprising because there had been a build-up even before you traveled. And that then led me to think, perhaps, what was this build-up? Because for many people, it came as a shock, some kind of surprise. They were bewildered largely, and maybe with the benefit of hindsight, to some extent naive about the workings of our own society. Many people assumed that we had overcome quite a number of the religious differences because there was so much intermarriage and all of that across ethnic groups and so on, that, look, quite a number of these things we had put behind us, only for them to resurface with a vengeance in this election cycle. Is that perhaps what you meant by, what exactly did you mean?
Yes. All right. So there are building blocks towards the democratic edifice, always. And what we're witnessing is that as those building blocks, and by that, I mean meetings like Hands Across the Niger, Hands Across the Nation, private meetings, group meetings, always with a focus in mind where you want to go eventually. Like, what kind of system do you want? What kind of ideology should bind all of you together? And which political party best promotes that ideology? All those building blocks have been knocked away. So that there was no difference left between, for instance, the two major parties. Movements of individuals across a totally vitiated identity, ideological identity. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Now, another building block, when we told the youth, listen, you have enormous voting power. Why don't you meet among yourselves? Give us a consensus candidate. I met literally all the young people. I'm talking about the last election,
Yes.
Not this one. No.
Right.
The last one, I met all the young people. I addressed them at a place not far from Alausa collectively. Addressed them individually in twos and threes. I told those, I won't mention, I said, look, don't waste your time. There's no way I would back somebody like you, And I remember one of them complaining, I wasn't looking for a godfather, as if I offered to be his guy as a godfather.
You don't have to do that. No.
But anyway, these meetings went on. So this is a part of this building blocks. And when they failed, for instance, I remember once we invited Obi Okwesili to try and negotiate among themselves. Then she ended up becoming a candidate, remember? So it's all very complicated, But one by one, those building blocks were being knocked away by seasoned politicians because they saw what was happening. They saw the possibility of a change. And they're politicians. Your life is politics. You're not going to sit down. I mean, people, as somebody once said, you don't sit down and wait for democracy to fall in your lap. You have to work for it. You have to fight for it, You have to negotiate for it. But don't sacrifice your principles. And so we have those other blocks. In other words, this election actually is a consequence. I mean, what happened at these elections, the emergence, for instance, of quote-unquote a third force, it didn't happen overnight. It's a build-up on all those blocks I have already cited. And so the moment came when it seemed as if we had reached a mass moment. Unfortunately, a bit of fascism from our observation, and this is one of the reasons why I was happy I was away at the time. A lot of fascism was creeping in. People saw what was supposed to happen, what we expected to happen, to be a divine command, to be inevitable, and to be right there and then, and began to act fascistically to other people. If you disagree with them on strategy, on even little issues of tactics, because they kept communicating with me that we don't like what we're seeing. what's developing here. So once again, the building blocks were not even just by the old brigade, but even by the youth. Oh, I forgot to mention SARS. SARS was another build-up. Right. SARS was another build-up. Significant momentum in the mobilization of alternative force within the nation. So there was alarm. One, by the old brigade. And as I said, there was
I just want us to listen to what
creeping
Professor is
fascism
saying. There is a portion
within the ranks
which I want you to hold on
new
to.
brigade. I watched the program.
If you have any comments.
And when I watched this person speaking on air, I said, I understand. I can see what I was hearing now about. I could see how this new force was beginning to lose momentum, was beginning to lose even support because of a fascistic tendency among the followers. But I watched that program. Go and watch all the programs yesterday. You see that I don't want to mention names or anything of the sort, but you will know the one I'm talking about. How could a Democrat, a self-described Democrat, aspiring to power by democratic means, speak like that, in that inciting way, in that denigration of all the structures which are supposed in the end to come to the aid of an election. Those structures will not guarantee they will not decide the result, but they at least will guarantee a reasonable, sustainable edifice of the democratic process. And I listened to that man talking, and I said, oh God, Nigeria is in trouble.
Nigeria is a problem.
Part of the reason why I said earlier that, and why I thought you were someone we could talk to about the nature of democracy, the way our own democracy has evolved, and why we seem, shall we say, to be off the rails with it, goes back to your own struggles against, shall we say, the entrenched or vested interests. The entrenched or vested interests. Yes. Because I again went back and had to read up your encounter in Western Nigeria, where you felt you had no option. You walked into a radio station in Ibadan and replaced the tape with yours. And that was at the height of the struggle between the progressives, as it was then known, and the northern conservatives, if you like, who were in alliance with the party in the West at that time. Of course, this was all the period of Operation Wet Year and all that. Really tense. Of course, all of that was swept away by the coup of January 1966. So you've come a long way with this. And I wonder, as we progressed down that road, the interregnum of military, many people blame the military, that they're the ones who took us off the rails. And we haven't been back because they haven't left. They've only changed uniforms.
Why is it always you?
Is that
Are you
really
the only one?
true? Is it that foundationally we weren't set for this, and that's why we're getting it wrong? Because people point to Ghana and say that they got independence about the same time. They seem to have gotten a lot of it right.
Why?
Not everything, but a lot of it. Certainly a lot more than we have. So when you make that kind of comparison and given the background from which you came, Prof, what do you see? How is this unfolding? Because still, now you are still fighting.
The comparison with Ghana is very just. I keep referring to the day when the election at which Kufuor, who was incumbent, was, he lost the election, and he was the one who stepped in, and the people were ready to move, to destroy and everything. And he said, no, let it stand. And he moved away. He conceded, even though the results had been, glaring. It was really terrible. I remember I was around that time. I was doing some research into the slave, the Saharan slave trade. So I was actually physically there in the northern part of Ghana, where the trouble was about to begin. And yet, the president at the time just said, stepped aside. Same as, for instance, Jonathan did here. But the president was over there in Ghana, and that was a glorious moment for democracy on the West, especially the West African section. But I want to go back to the wet hair issue. By the time the incident you're talking about happened, the elections were not yet over, but they were over. Even before the election started, the elections were over. If you remember, the deputy premier went on air, arrogant, boastful, saying, whether you vote for us or not,
only in Nigeria,
the angels in heaven will come and vote for us. So you already saw what was going to happen in that elections, and they did not disappoint. And they were brutal. Let's not go into details, but let's just say that democracy had already totally broken down. And there was no pretense about it. You had judges being summoned by the premier, Justice Shaw has written about it, if you don't take my word for it, summoned in advance and being told this is the way you want things to go. And all this was out in the open. So battle was joined. There's no question at all about that. I like to place my so-called intervention in its proper perspective. So in this particular case, however, we've had, I wouldn't say that we've had, yes, I will even say that there has been, at least to all appearances, a level playing ground. And therefore, it's one of those instances where I think, I believe that we must take the position that the process is not yet ended. It's not yet ended. And until the final pronouncement is made, as far as I'm concerned, the electoral process is still on. As long as there are avenues still, and there were none at the time we're talking about, absolutely none. As long as the avenues still exist for contesting what has already been contested, well, to me, the democratic process, the electoral process is still on. We can still come back, I believe, to that phase, that moment when we all said, when we had a common purpose, and we said, enough of military rule. I'm talking about June 12th. And everyone came together and demonstrated, not just to ourselves, but to the whole world, yes, we know what democracy is, and we know how to practice it. And unfortunately, we seem not to have succeeded in reaching that level of democratic concept, as we exhibited when we said, look, let us take back our own volition, our political volition, and get rid of the khaki boys. And we can still come back to it. The first thing is this, that even with this election, we can still come back to it. The first thing is, I believe that all these political contestants firing brickbats at each other, I think the first thing is for them to send all their spokesmen and women on vacation and say that, okay, we reached the major phase, we completed the major phase of the electoral process. Thank you very much. You've spoken for us enough. From now on, we'll speak in our own voices. I say this in all seriousness because, again, I sent for the paper. I read the papers of Saturday and Sunday. I came and I read the pronouncements of one of the spokesmen of the political parties, and I asked myself, is this coming before the violence which I've been reading about in Lagos, or is it coming after? It's like what was happening, what has been reported happening, and which people whom I rely on have described to me in Lagos State, for instance. It's like it was happening somewhere in the Ukraine, to read what this fellow, who's supposed to be a lawyer, educated, and who's been also from one party to the other, and back again, and then back again. To me, what's this? To me, young man was writing at the height of turmoil between ethnic groups in Lagos, when by now he should be busy now pouring oil on troubled waters. This fascistic language, which I complained about earlier, was coming out of this, spilling out vitriol, the pen. I think the politicians should send all their spokespeople away on vacation,
Send
so
them
that we know
away.
them, that we're dealing directly with
Send them.
the principals. That way, they also will be in calmer waters, not being, instigate, not being, even their normal natures being violated, being converted, and they're submitting. They feel maybe it's good for them, and so on and so forth. I think all secondaries should be taken. Send them on leave to the Ukraine, for instance. Sorry, Ukraine is very much on my mind, as you see, for good reasons. And then let the process take its place. Above all, we who consider ourselves educated, civilized, you consider ourselves not alienated from people, we'll do whatever we can to just smoothen over the breaches which have been committed since those initiatives hand across the Niger and across the nation. Just get back to civilized conduct. And wherever the chips fall, this is the level, the stage at which democracy, the process has reached in Nigeria. It will never go back from here. I mean, the mold has been broken. A pattern has been set. People are discovering that they're not as powerless, especially the young, as powerless as they think. More than a point has been made, a goal has been scored. Let's put it this way. And I think that's a way for people to approach what is, what's taking place right now.
Many are scared, though, Prof. And they
won't
point
let
back
them.
and they say that
There's no
our
way.
own experience was one in which
Only me.
one
You
very
not
prime
allow
example of where those who fought for the restoration of democracy, sometimes putting their lives at risk, quite a number of them lost their lives in the process.
Greediness,
You came close
selfishness,
to that.
loss of character.
4 years thereabouts in exile. And even then, your life was in danger, even in exile. And then when this democracy was to be restored, some of those who fought alongside you had said, well, yeah, they took a back seat. And then the same rascals, I'm quoting now, that the same rascals who we just finished fighting simply took off the uniforms that we said we disliked and then dressed like us and then joined the fray. But then we took a back seat, and by we, they meant people like you. Was that, with the benefit of hindsight, perhaps an error? Because all the things you talk about, many of those people also talk about it. But then they are not, they were not, and they still are not in the fray. So perhaps the level of conduct is just that bit lower because they aren't seeing it the way you are or have.
Well, let me tell you something that happened to me. I was going through my archives, trying to get them together, for acquisition and so on, And I was astonished and exhausted. In other words, I was not exhausted at the time, but going through my papers, correspondence, communication, the fight from Nadeko, my own Nalikon, the efforts at political parties which made the meetings, the marches, the tear gassing, the exchanges, which, however determined, were never as corrupted in language as we've been treated today. But just simply the enormity of what I found myself doing all the time. Let me tell you something. I was so glad that I was going to be out of this country for some time. I felt, look, take a rest. Yeah, just take a sabbatical. This time, not forced. Because the other sabbatical was forced. Was 24 hours non-stop, all around 7 days a week. And so, but take a sabbatical, just do some teaching. And don't forget that in among all these various things we talk about, some of us actually thought seriously of seeking power, of demanding, of requesting power, so that we could make the changes for which we fought. But we're honest with ourselves. I don't have the temperament of soapbox oratory. I don't have a temperament of the kind of compromises involved necessarily. Let's be pragmatic. All over the world, kind of compromise is necessary to attain power where you can make changes. A few individuals did go in, and some of them succeeded, and we watched them. But we also backed. I can tell you, for instance, that we backed certain states. We said among ourselves, well, why don't we try and get power in this state and then demonstrate to the rest of the nation just what a modern society should be like. And remember, when we worked towards and so on, thank goodness we didn't get there, because the person whom we picked, I think the FCC are still looking for him. So there have been efforts to practicalize our sense of, shall we say, our theories of what society should be. Because they go beyond theories. They're not inachievable objectives, goals. No. It's just that something happens to some breed of people when they get in power. They forget the past. And they're so busy, they say with the president, oh, let me just handle this, then I'll get back to your business. It's always a mistake. From the moment people, those individuals, they arrive at power, even before they arrive at power, they should have begun to work towards the transformation of society. So I don't think we were wrong to say we'll take a back seat, because we were not after power. We're not after office, let me put it that way. We're not after office. We just wanted
Please withdraw.
To interact with our people in a state of civic dignity. That's all. Volition. Don't bully me. Don't take my voice away. Don't take my economic potential away, my economic entitlements. Don't throw me on the mercy of sadists like Emefiele, whatever his name is, the central bank man, impoverished. He and his boss, Buhari, because Buhari's ultimate responsibility rests with him to have allowed this to happen. But this is the expert. This is the one who gives the advice. This is the one who executes the policies.
Mr. Rob, I'm going to send it back to you.
To a state where,
if I know how I'm sending it back to you.
A few days ago, I arrived, how many days ago? And I sent a check to the bank. And the check came back. They had no cash. One of the bankers eventually brought me something.
I will sell it to you
from his own
take it away.
Stash, thank you very much. And explained to me what had been going on. And now they would sit and wait for money to come.
I'm not accepting it.
You can't buy a newspaper. You can't buy guguru and epa, which means that the saleswoman cannot pay for the plantain, which means that the farmer cannot even pay for transportation of the goods from his farm to the. And if this man, I don't know who he is, I never know where he came
and I don't want to know him.
He's committed a crime against humanity of this nation, over and beyond even any electoral,
I don't want to know you.
He struck.
We are still coming back onto that.
At the heart of the subsistence survival principles, minimal.
Look at
needs and entitlements.
See how
of the
much
ordinary people
you took out of the stock exchange.
Prof,
now going out talking.
Political
I think
and other contestations go on. You've said it. The larger part of the contest is over, and now you have what happens, and whichever way the chips fall,
our money.
May they fall that way. But in truth, there is a transition taking place now.
Go and read it. It's there.
General Buhari is leaving, and so
taken out of the stock exchange. Did you repay it back?
Other people in other political offices, and there's those who have said to me,
you didn't.
For example, that perhaps for the first time,
if you did, let's see.
The battle
Come out and say
for
it.
democracy and June 12th.
Why do you take it out in the first place?
Undertaken
Why?
and fought to a conclusion, which birthed
Nigeria is
the
not
Fourth
just for
Republic. You actually now have someone who's been declared president who was part of that battle. And this is without prejudice to any of what is going on about the legitimacy or otherwise of the results of the election. I'm just talking about the historical antecedents. And that therefore, perhaps we may now dare to hope that some of the things you talked about that we seem thus far not to have gotten right, we may be beginning to go there. You talk about a mold being broken.
Yes, sir.
Is that part of the mold being broken?
Yeah, well, sometimes, the saying, to make the omelette, you must first break the egg. Yes, right. And that egg has been broken. So what are the ingredients the incumbent needs to put in place to make us a decent, sustainable omelette? Let me begin from the negative side. An awareness, by the way, and I believe this is not conspiracy theory. I believe that there was, and I'd heard about this before, and I have reason to believe it, that there was an agenda from the very beginning to scuttle this election. There was an agenda to scuttle it. There was a prospect of an interim government even before the election took place. A very good reason to believe that. Now, the forces behind that interim proposal will not sit still. They will not accept that a transition is taking place. It's no different, let me tell you, it's no different from what happened when Obama became president against all odds. The dark horse literally came into power.
Yeah.
And conservatives like Newt Gingrich, I remember, I've never forgotten this, declared openly, said, our mission is to make him fail. He said it's true. Said this leftist is something. So yeah, he said that yes, our mission is to make him not succeed, to make his government fail. And so whoever comes in must be aware that that agenda of creating a vacuum into which the ultra conservatives, the ultra primitives can step, that agenda is not yet over. And that he has that to contest with. He's got to have a way of managing that in a way which does not even exacerbate the intensity of their, of their assumed hostility. That's one. Two, whoever it is must understand the fact that this country will not cease, the people will not cease demanding a restructuring of this nation. And the sooner it is addressed as part and parcel of the process of governance, of making laws, of debating, or even economic reforms, fiscal attributions, etc., devolution of power within what is possible along the way to the lower tiers of governance, in which I'm always more interested than the stand. It's one of the things which, by the way, those animals, those cooked, they extract something from what you said before, and then they build their own fantasies around it. And anyway, that's by the way, And so there must be that focus, the good governance, but also a view of the direction of society. If the two do not go pari passu, the incoming regime will fail because new voices are being heard, and they are more powerful than before. They are not just whining voices. They are voices. They are voices based on actualities. We have failed in so many directions, and they are saying, let us debate this particular direction. Let's try this direction, and you cannot ignore it. You just cannot. Otherwise, even your economic policies will fail. Your infrastructural transformations will fail. We'll just go back, treading the same old spore. Security, of course. Let's not even go there. right now. This is a
I was going to go there, Prof, because it would appear that that's the big elephant in the room, because
big elephant.
even while we discuss every other thing, without security, nothing else is possible. So, I mean...
And this is part and parcel of the restructuring that we're talking about. Security is at the heart of it. When you devolve the means, the power and authority and equipment to the grassroots levels, structured, of course, not just vigilantes or anywhere, then you begin, people begin to feel comfortable in their own homes. They begin to feel part and parcel of the security system.
And you
but if you sit in Aso Rock, with all the tanks surrounding you, and think that yes, you can. The moment you can sense some armored tanks there, I can sense some. Yeah, you can feel. Security has got to be integrated, just like food production, food distribution. Just like culture itself. Security has got to become part and parcel of the cultural life of these people, and that will only happen through decentralization, a meaningful one, not rhetorical.
Meaningful one, Benny. ẹ ṣé bàbá mi pòfẹ́sọ̀ tó mòye tó gbásìkì pòfẹ́sọ̀ tó gbásìkì kí lẹ tún fẹ́ gbọ́ tẹ́ ẹ gbọ́.
Whatever would be the successful recipe.
We all have our own opinion.
Whoever was going to get into authority,
you can
at
learn
whatever
one
level,
or two
had
things.
to do something
At
to
least
stem,
I'm learning.
And first stem and then reverse the brain drain that is currently going on, not just in Nigeria, by the way, on the African continent.
Not one way. Be crying,
exactly
no plan B. What plan have you got? What else have you got now?
At this point?
Well, because there's a new imperialism taking place. There's a new colonization taking place, and it goes beyond the colonization of territory. We're talking about the colonization of minds. We're talking compulsory, enforced colonization of minds. We're talking even about something as crude as a re-inauguration of the slave trade.
Are we really?
Because what else do you call it?
Are we really
when the security of a nation has become so loose that when we send our children to school, a troop can come in and capture them and then say, come and negotiate their return. What's that? Another phase, more sophisticated phase of the slave trade. So this continent, from here to Uganda to Somalia to Mauritania, parts even of Central Africa, is being recolonized by forces of religious fundamentalism. Real
Take
militant
it back. I'm not asking you for money.
What else do you call it? When hundreds, thousands are being killed because some people are so besotted by religion, they want to form a new caliphate. They're already collecting taxes in many, many areas, even in this country. Go along West African coast. We're being recolonized
you are no more my
by
friend.
atavistic forces
please.
Operating under the name of religion. And not just that, we're being recolonized also by forces on which we depended formerly for the repulsion of colonialism. The Russians are in here. They've got their troops in here. They're in Mali. They're in East Africa. So very soon, we're going to have a resurgence of no longer a scramble for Africa, but a physical battle for Africa. If we don't take our destiny in our own hands.
Yes.
And so when I speak about this repeating the cycle of history, I mean it not just theoretically, not just as a kind of intellectual gambit. No, it's physical. It's what's going on right now.
Much of your writing, and now I take it beyond Nigeria now, much of your writing has been about the jackboot of the oppressor.
Oppressor.
And you talk about the jackboot of the oppressor without minding the color of the foot in the boot.
You didn't
and
allow
that
him
comes
to
from what
contest.
you've just said
You
now.
refused to register.
Because immediately people talk of oppression, they
Irregular.
probably don't grasp the various molds, shapes, and forms that it can take. And the one of the mind that you mentioned is probably the most long-lasting. Because you can always take back territory, you can always win back money lost,
someone like
property,
this
and so on. But if you're colonized in the mind, it takes a bit of doing to get out of that. And that's where we seem to be now.
You block.
The youth are practically running away. So even if you got someone who now understood what is to be done, there's no critical mass with which he is to or she is to do it.
I don't know.
So it's like perhaps we're running twice as hard in order not to be able to move forward at all.
In the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Well, this applies virtually to all facets of our life, including, I'm very glad that there is, including our foreign policy, including our take on obligations to others to arrive even where we are, which is not just satisfactory. Forgive me for going back even back to Ukraine when I talk about foreign policy. We hear many of our leaders and some of our intellectuals too still think that our relationship with the outer world should be the same as it was when we were not yet independent. We have a false sense of obligation to those who assisted us in arriving at this moment. We fail to choose our models outside. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about both historical models. In other words, what were the parallel conditions outside from which we can learn, parallel to what we have gone through? And this is where Ukraine comes in.
Well,
when you look at Ukraine, my mind, for instance, goes to 80.
I think I will stop
Napoleon
this
wanted
tape
to
here.
reconquer,
Because
re-enslave Haiti.
I still have a long way to go.
The Haitians were us. They are what we are. They are us. They are our people. And they resisted France and sent Napoleon running back where he came from. Now, our failure is inability to relate such a slice, a proud slice of our history to what is happening in the Ukraine. The Ukrainians are saying, we don't want recolonization. I'm not interested in, this did this in the past, this one did that. No. I'm asking, what is the condition? How do we interpret, how do we translate, analyze what is happening in the Ukraine in relation to our history and in relation to our prospects? And you find that the parallels are really instructive. If we, for instance, don't take the right position, the terrorists, the whole brigade we're talking about, the power terrorists will do to us internally what Russia is doing to the Ukraine. This is one of the failures in thinking, of some of our leadership. They don't realize that models are being set outside, which are very attractive to the reactionary elements within our society. They just say, yes, America did this over there. America.
Let me stop this, Steve.
I'm asking, what did the world do to us that we can see being reflected in what is being done in other parts of the world? For me, that's where the real lesson lies. And if we take the right attitude towards that, without any intervention, if we learn those lessons, then we will get rid of our own power terrors once and for all here. If, however, we allow yet again our leaders to take the side of power against freedom, we'll have no mouth to talk, as the saying is. If the whole brigade come gunning for us, if we hear tomorrow that Abacha has risen from his grave, and then start looking and say, yes, what did you say? What did you do when such and such a thing happened outside? Let's go. Trump invaded the White House, screaming,
and see what is happening
mandate
now.
was stolen. Policemen were killed. People were traumatized for life. Now, that is the kind of example being seen as a model by some of our people. You can see it spreading, first through Brazil, Bello, or whatever that his name is, who then did a Trump, at least attempted it. And it's already moving to the African continent, where say, after all, people didn't see anything over there. No, let's learn from the mistakes of others, the errors of others. That at least we can do for ourselves. But above all, we say we don't even need any models. We have enough intelligence quotient here on the African continent to direct our own destiny.
Prof, my final question to you would be...
Okay, let's listen to the final question.
One that would call upon your skills of
my mentor.
And that is because for most people,
Professor,
they will never have some of the opportunities that you have had to be at junctions, if you like, of our history. And unfortunately, like you, most of these others do not leave historical records behind of their roles. Dim Chukwemeka Odumego Ojukwu didn't write any book. General Abacha, whom you just mentioned, didn't. And there are quite a number of others. General Babangida up till now hasn't. Neither has General Buhari or even General Gawan. Of course, General Murtala Mohammed didn't. General Obasanjo is perhaps the only one who has.
Letter writer himself.
He did, and most of his writing has been extremely controversial because argue with the facts as he presents them. But I wanted you to take a look at and you're going to just tell us.
Are you going to write the same letter?
And if you didn't interact with them,
son or grandson.
Particularly, I'm going to avoid those who are late because they are not in the position to refute whatever you say.
Think about it before
General
you do it.
You had a mixed relationship with him.
Power. He's going to end one day
from Biafra.
This power.
But then subsequently, it seemed
only God's power will last forever.
He offered you an explanation for that. I don't know if you accepted it, but so what kind of relationship did you have?
I had no problem whatsoever responding to Gawan's olive branch, which began, by the way, many people do not know, when I can't remember when he started, but he actually asked a diplomat, Adefuye.
The late Anthony.
He's late now, but he asked him, he said he wanted us to meet. He wanted Adefuye to arrange a lunch or dinner, that he wanted to meet me. That he found out a number of things and he wanted to see me and explain to me. And I told Adefuye, I said, there's no need. I said, I found out a number of things myself, and I know exactly those who are guilty of manipulating, facts and distorting and lying, and just to get me locked away after my trip to Biafra, the breakaway Biafra. But so I said, no, don't worry. I said, we'll meet. And we did meet eventually. I think it was in Binghamton University when the late Ali Mazrui invited me to a conference on the African, future. And to many people's surprise, I was there ready to work with Gawan to talk about Africa, which we did. It was a very interesting meeting. That was our first meeting. Gawan couldn't do enough to make me comfortable while I was working to assure him that there's no need, that we're okay, and everything was, and we've spoken, I've visited him, I've interviewed him for BBC in one of the programs going back to Biafra, and we've spoken about the future. And he was a very young person when he took over the reins of power. He believed what the Secret Service told him. He believed, for instance, what Antonio Nauro, Minister of Information, told him, and he reacted to all of that. He wasn't the one who physically ordered me to be put in that painful situation of solitary confinement. No, it was the Ababaku around him, as usual, those who want to prove that they're more patriotic, more one Nigeria than the rest of the world.
Sure.
Functionaries, they're some of the worst. People were sometimes worse, more vicious, more evil than even the principals who issue orders. They very often are the guilty ones.
But you did produce something which people said perhaps was your most profound writing during that period. Of course, till today, most people don't know how you managed to do that. And perhaps this would be a good opportunity for you to tell them how. But I talk about that only in reference to the fact that you were in solitary confinement. But the man died, correct me if I'm wrong, the man died, came out of that experience. Yes. So, again, they failed to dull that in you. I want to assume that the reason why they thought if they put you in solitary confinement was if they parted you from your books and from your writing, then of course that would break you.
Mr. Rob, you're making me behaving like a baby. Stop that. Maybe we should stop here. I think.
Have you seen this product selling
Which product?
on Amazon?
Which product?
Well, once you realize what people are trying to do to you, then you can build defenses against it. The first thing is to be honest with yourself. And say, for instance, you enter a place like that, and you say to yourself, listen, you don't know where you're coming out here. Of here, I don't even know if you're coming out alive. The major thing is that while you're here, you make sure your mind is functioning, because that's why you've been sent into solitary confinement. And so you devise all kinds of things to create a semblance of vitality within your micro, isolated world, so that if you came out alive, you could come out still ready for battle, shall we say? I think once you have that frame of mind, the rest is not too difficult. There were difficult moments, very difficult moments. And but the important thing, as I said, is to arm yourself with the truth of your situation. Not say if somebody's coming to bail you out tomorrow, you're not being tried. You can't appeal to anybody for bail. So, and then you protect yourself as best as you can, because you also get a feeling that they don't want you to come out alive, so that you won't be able to say certain truths which they don't like to hear. So it's a very complex one, situation.
Second truth. Oh.
I managed somehow.
General Buhari, you interacted with him first as a much younger person when he was military head of state, and then subsequently, of course, now that he was a refined Democrat and elected leader. What was that?
Second truth.
Well, let's say that I interacted with him. I can reveal today, for instance, that interaction, which I refuse to speak about because
I'm going to read out
it was from men.
Some comments after this.
Which I've had an organization with which I have quite a close relation, some of the members and so on and so forth. And
even if this is the only program going to today, I'm so happy.
They wanted it to be done. They wanted to reconcile with the rest of the nation, but in a dignified and an entitled way. And they wanted somebody whom they could trust, who would tell the government that and bring back
someone you could trust
a response. And that's been my only one-on-one meeting with Buhari. We met, of course, very briefly, fleetingly, during the Pronaco, when we all got together to fashion a constitution for this nation. The president at the time said it was treasonable conduct, and the police said he was going to arrest us. In fact, that was when I joined that activity when I learned that the government and the police were going to stop citizens from meeting and debating their own future on their own terms in freedom. I said to Becco, all right, find me a chair. I'm coming to you people. Let's see what's going to happen. That's why I became a member of Pronaco at the time.
Baba.
And when I met Buhari, an interesting should raise this. One of the problems with this nation is that the majority of our thinkers and commentators don't like to accept responsibility. I used an expression at the time. I said, no, but Buhari didn't win an election. I said, Jonathan lost it. Jonathan lost it. Lost it soundly, roundly. And I told him so. When he came to Lagos to seek my support, and we met at the government house on the marina, we had a long chat. And I said, I will not support you because you lost an election because of this. And I cited and cited. And like you go on, Jonathan and I have remained friends till today. It's others who keep insisting that I handed over power to Buhari.
That you took it from Jonathan.
You took it from Jonathan and gave it. It's only these submental characters, who keep insisting on this. And I keep telling them, when you've admitted your responsibility, because you have a responsibility for the way you had part responsibility for what happened under Jonathan, You didn't like people to call him to order. You defended certain things which were indefensible. You encouraged, the growth, the absolutely humongous extension of corruption under Jonathan. I mean, all the things are coming everywhere. Out now and so on. But I had a particular relationship with Jonathan. Even when he took office, I will not tell you what he said to me when we met at Freedom at Egbo.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank
during
you
the
very
children's
much.
when we went together. Yeah, I have a personal thing with him, and that is why, since he left office, I've just ignored those who put on me enormous temptation to say, "Listen, if the only way I can shut you up is to criticize Jonathan, keep at it." But I won't, because I have a special bond with him. I know what we said to each other at the time. And I know why I criticized, when I criticized, why I criticized his wife, when I criticized, and why I warned. But he failed. And there's no way I will say a vote to somebody whom I know has failed.
To tell the
so are these people till tomorrow shouting that Oluye and put it there. And each time I open my mouth to criticize Buhari, they say, hey, but you put it. Thank you very much. And then I will shout, I say, okay, very good. And then I will say, oh, since Buhari was there, do you notice he has never criticized Buhari? These liars.
Liars.
Sometimes Nigeria is really exhausting. The people, sometimes more than the government.
Now, someone with whom you had fairly public set of interactions. I don't know you. You can explain if that was close or not. Was the evil genius? So he was described, and he accepted that description because he told me himself that he didn't mind that description. General Babangida, General Ibrahim Babangida. Now you had, of course, he was in government.
Yes, I had a good.
And you had a good relationship with him because under his administration, first you led the
you
federal
can call
safety,
him if you want.
and then of course he was lucky because at the time he won the Nobel Prize.
You can call him.
It was not too long after he took over, and the carpets were rolled out for you. I don't know how much of that you actually enjoyed, but but they were rolled out. So you had a special bond with it.
Yes. I had a very soft spot for Babangida. But one thing, I have a soft spot for people who exhibit intelligence. Sometimes, however, intelligence is used the wrong way, and then the fight begins. But that's one. He also prepared for the role. I discovered later because I wondered why he seemed so methodical and very
Bàbá yín pọ̀
thoughtful.
ti pọ̀ jù, ẹ má pa mí.
He did something very clear because obviously
Oh
he'd been
my
chasing power
God, I
for quite
love
some
you
time.
so
He'd
much.
been meaning to take that. So he created a
I
think
love
tank
you so
who've
much,
written papers
Baba.
for him on various subjects. So when he came on board, he was able to hit the ground running and operate in directions which you had to admire. I mean, even Bello, even Abacha, does something positive. In my philosophy is that I acknowledge it and I don't deny it. And I say, okay, let's try this one. And he carried out a number of important projects while he was there. But when he began toying with the civic dignity of people, that's when things fell apart. Election, political party, one to the left, one to the right. Whose business? What is it your business? How people decide to go? If they want to stay center, the important thing is you leave the scene. And then he kept manipulating, postponing, putting people in, bringing people out. Then he talked about money bags while people were accumulating money over there. Anyway, he also lost it. And you talked about people not writing their memoirs. I can tell you that he's writing his memoir. I happen to know somebody who's helping him write it. And I agree with you absolutely. These people who've gone there, who've been there, and I told Arab Moy the same thing when we met before, when he was still trying to hang on. And I said, listen, why don't you just retire, go to your farm, and I promise you, if you retire peacefully and something, I will come and help you write your memoirs. I said, at that time, he was still trying to cling to power, and we met. And I attacked me in the lecture. And I said, learning from your mistakes as well as your achievement. That is what power should be like that. When you leave, you not only leave the country intact, but you leave certain processes from which people can learn, certain experiences. So I agree with you. I think all of us should make ourselves available. Me know I have my own writing to do, but those who haven't got anything, help them write their memoirs, and please do it as soon as possible, so that lies can be debunked while they're still living. So that those of us who are also writing about ourselves, our lives can be debunked while they're still witnesses around. I talked just now about going through my archives. It's amazing in the material which I saw there. Things I had totally forgotten about. And so these, of course, we made available, and then people can construct their own histories from this sort of material. It's the only thing left for those of us who are in the transitional space, like the country is right now.
Before, there's a picture of you at Dodden Barracks. I believe you had Chino Achebe with you. And I believe the other person was J.P. Clark. And you had gone to see Babangida. At that time, your colleague in ANA. I'm more interested in things like this, not Gopo Jagbas.
He died really suddenly of a heart attack.
I don't know about that.
He was 51.
Vatsa. Major General Maman Vatsa had been convicted of coup plotting and was to be shot.
Nothing about
and you had
that.
gone to plead for his life at the time.
And the others.
Yes, and the president, General Babangida, had promised he would do everything. Ultimately, he didn't succeed. When I spoke to him, he was very regretful at it, but he said he couldn't prevail. But there were other accounts that I read that indicated that was something that you couldn't forgive him for, because you and your colleagues left with the impression that, yes, he wasn't going to be free, but he wasn't going to be killed either.
Never.
But there he was. It happened. Is that true?
Yeah. It is in fact, that's one of the main breaches that I had with Babangida. because we left him with this promise that he would do his best. And not only left him, we left buoyantly. In fact, we went and had a feast afterwards that we succeeded in saving Batsa and the others. He gave us the impression that he would do it. And for quite a while, I didn't even want to move near anything military at the time. It was quite a slaughter. You know, the number of people were killed in that so-called coup attempt. Now, what solved, what healed to some extent, not totally, the breach was that the young man who arranged the meeting for us, who pleaded with us, who in fact encouraged the entire venture, who was working with Babangida in Bruton Barracks at the time. In fact, I think he must have had a relation among the soldiers who were eventually sentenced to death, whether shot or not. He himself then sought us out afterwards to explain what had happened. I'd expected him, in fact, to be bitter and, just to say he was quitting everything. But he then came and said, yes, I know how you people felt. I want to assure you. And he said, and you can imagine how I also felt. He said, but I want to assure you that Babangida did his best to save those people. He argued for their lives. He said, but they told him, Oga, I'm quoting him as President, Oga, please, if you can carry out your duties, step aside, and we'll do what is necessary. That's the report he gave me. That made it possible over time for me to simmer down somewhat from my position, total cut up from anything, the government, military, because I felt personally betrayed. But when that young man, whose name, JP is dead also, I would have said, go and ask him what the name of the man is. When he said that, and he did have a relation, if not a brother, within the something.
2 to 3 minutes, not up to 5 minutes.
Slowly, I was able to sort of thaw, shall we say. And in any case, in the military, people have their own. I often say to myself, but for the grace of God or whatever, Allah, or whatever, go I. Because if you remember, as you know, I nearly went into the military as well. Myself, I trained for it. But fortunately, you probably wouldn't have survived. I don't think I would have survived. So you think of all of that, and you find it easy sometimes to at least live with what you cannot really accommodate. It's when they go haywire and think they are gods, the military. That's when, the problem starts with me. You're not gods. They're just ordinary people. As your cousin, Fela Nicola Kukuchi, said, soldier to na person, the uniform na cloth. And I have family in the military. I have up to the general level, those who've been fighting Boko Haram. And I respect the military a lot. You cannot, people who put their lives on the line for whatever reason deserve some respect. It doesn't mean you treat them as gods, no, but they deserve some respect, and they deserve to be catered for, well looked after. And so when I hear, for instance, of people in uniform stealing money,
that was my mistake.
For soldiers,
for 20 minutes.
I really feel like going back, starting all over again, going to the military to go and deal with them. Because for me, it's the worst crime that can be committed, that you deny soldiers the need to protect you. I find it absolutely abominable.
Oh, no wonder.
Professor Wole, as always, an honor and a privilege to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My Honorable Professor Wole SheikM.Ajani nìyẹn, my people. I think you enjoyed that program and you will learn one or two things from my professor. Now, let's move on to another program. Thank you. Ẹ ṣé, ẹ káàbọ̀. Mr. Rob, Mr. Jinadu, I think Mr. Samson, ẹ ṣé, ẹ má bínú. Mi ò mọ̀ pé setting yẹn nǹkan tó ń sọ nìyẹn. 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, is it compulsory that it should be on one program now? Mistake ni ṣe mọ̀, Àjọkẹ́ ò mọ̀ pa technology lọ títí. Let me quickly read some of the comments. Mr. Evans says, highly educated episode. Happy to learn that some people got punished for the Supreme Court judgment in Imo State. I wonder how people like Professor Wole Soyinka will feel seeing reversal of some of the and through the struggles people we look up to in a society hide from, usually confronting us, a nation. No, don't say that. You have to go back and listen to what Professor said earlier on. They won't allow them to. Baba Obasanjo blocked Professor from contesting. He didn't allow him to. So what else do you want? You want them to kill him? No, you have to run away for your life. That's how Nigeria is, especially Africans. I'm not sorry to say that. Now, this is a well-prepared journalist. What an interview. Kudos to you, Mr. Akeredolu. Well done, Baba. Professor Wole Soyinka never disappoints. Very educative and insightful interview. Yes, restructuring is the best way to go to reduce the pressure. Applause for fantastic and deep interview. Very insightful and enlightening conversation, and only the wise can understand it. Always on point and professional. May Nigeria of his dream be actualized. I have been concerned about the whereabouts of Professor Soyinka during this election. Hope he is well because his silence was quite unusual. How I wish Soyinka and Obasanjo can agree. I love them both. Lord said to he was definitely referring to Dati. I don't understand why more media outlets didn't condemn those words. Which word? Fani Kayode and his poisonous words. Okay. Great show. You know Fani Kayode now. Great show. Good to hear and learn from the Nobel laureate great statesman Ben. Brilliant man. Thank you, sir. May God continue to bless you for your truth. Actually, you made the point, Professor. These people do not understand the complexity of the issues. Makes it difficult for them to attain the focus required for leadership. I can read it on and on without stopping, but I still have another. This is one. Is for prosperity. Thank you. It is most reasonable for equity and security. Thank you, Professor. Professor has said more only those with understanding will get lots of messages coded in this interview. You see? Now, ẹ jẹ́ ká sún síwájú ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Mo lérò pé èmi gbádùn ẹ̀ o. Wàláì, níbo ló dé? ànáwá kínní tí máa tí bá lè ṣe màá kọ́ tẹ̀, if not doesn't really matter. Ká ní okay, now let's move on to another topic, which is ẹ jẹ́ kí n gbé ọmọ quick one ká tún gbọ́ látọ̀dọ̀ ìyẹn ò pọ̀ púpọ̀, ìyẹn ò pọ̀ kí n tó wá lọ sí orí bàbá wa, ó máa ṣẹlẹ́ńkẹ́jọ lénìí ṣá. Ó máa ṣẹlẹ́ńkẹ́jọ. Ẹ ṣáà ti mọ̀.
Mohammed is accusing Peter Obi and his running mate, Dati Ahmed, of treason. Treason means to betray one's country, especially by attempting to kill the sovereign. That's like trying to kill the president or overthrow the government. So it's a big allegation, and it's all because of this statement by Dati on Channels TV.
Swear in anybody who does not meet the constitutional requirements of our country, you are engaging in an unconstitutional act. Mr. President, do not hold that inauguration. Do not partake in unconstitutionality. I'm telling you that on the 29th of May, 2023, swear in Tinubu as this result is, you have ended democracy, whoever you are.
Okay, so is that equivalent to trying to overthrow a government? No. Especially if we should remember what Osinbajo said during the 2015 election.
What the opposition has usually done in such cases is to reject the results of the elections and to say that they will constitute their own government, that they will constitute a government. That is simply a way of taking a stand. It simply is taking a stand against the government and putting the government under pressure.
If it forms a parallel government, that's not calling for anarchy.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
And even when the Osinbajos and Buhari became the ruling party, they didn't accuse Buhari or Osinbajo of treason.
Simply is taking a stand against the government and putting the government under pressure. That has happened in several places in Africa, several places in the world, where people have said, on account of electoral injustice, they are going to do certain things and all of that. So long as you not call anyone to violence, personally, I don't think that that's necessarily inciting.
So what changed? Why are we using double standard? Personally, I think it's heartbreaking that Tinubu, or let me just say APC, petitioned NBC to fine Channels TV 5 million naira because of this statement by Dati Ahmed. I mean, what nonsense is that? How dare you sanction a media company for what their guests said on live TV? They cannot be controlling their guests. If you have any problem with the statement, take it up with the speaker, not the TV station. You cannot silence the media. This is my biggest issue with APC. No matter what you do now, even though there's nothing wrong with what Dati said, I don't think he needed to say those things because it doesn't mean anything, especially in the Nigerian context. It's like someone saying don't give somebody an award. If they want to give an award, they will give an award. INEC did. So go after INEC if you have any issues. And the matter is already in court, so why not wait? But I don't think what he said is treason. If we were to go by the real definition of treason, Peter Obi is now saying that he's been pressured to leave the country and all that. Like, seriously, there is no need for that. Let me know what you guys think. So the Nigerian Aviation Minister, Alhaji Hadi Sirika, tweeted that he commissioned 10 fire trucks with a total of over 12 billion naira. That means he spent 1.2 billion on each truck. I'm sorry, but that's just ridiculous.
You don't have to be sorry. You're telling them the truth.
Last market rate or CBN rate, it ranges from spending $2 to $2.4 million on each truck. And before we even talk about this daylight robbery that took place, I don't know if it's just me, but all the pictures that I saw, including the video that my father posted on Twitter, I only counted 8 trucks. Did anyone else notice? Did you count? If someone has the picture of all 10, please share with me. Maybe I just missed it. But I didn't see any 10 fire trucks. I know he said more to come in his tweet, but he said today we commissioned 10. Is it that we are now commissioning things that are yet to be as though they already exist, which will be fate? Or he's mistaking 8 for 10? I don't know. Because if he bought 8, that would mean he spent 1.5 billion on each fire truck. That's almost $3 million on each truck. Now let's assume it was just a mistake, he commissioned 10. A good fire truck goes from between $250,000 to like $700,000, depending on whether it's new, used, the brand, the model. But it can also go into the millions of dollars. Some people say up to $6 million, especially if they buy equipment, not just the truck. So maybe they gave us the best of the best in Nigeria. How thoughtful. I know. I mean, going by experience, that has never happened. But maybe my father was like, these Nigerians, they deserve the very best fire truck. So that another airport will not get burnt. I'm giving them the best. Maybe this is what my father did. And all he needs to do is prove it to us by sharing the receipts. I know they can also want our receipts, but at least just give us some kind of you don't say I spent 12 billion. You should be able to give us the account of how you reach this 12 billion. Again, I'm not saying my father lied. I'm just saying, I'm just saying. And yes, I know that there will be shipping costs, but we will still come back to that. But since he didn't tell us the price, I thought, let me see if I can get the price for you guys, the exact price. So I looked at the video that the minister uploaded. The logo on the wheel is that of a company called Volkan in Turkey. So I looked them up. I called them. They even posted on their Instagram page some days ago that their vehicles from India were ready to go. So I went on their website. They didn't list the prices of their fire trucks. They want you to call them. So I called them. And because of the time difference, I had to call them before 5 a.m. my time. Oh, what I do for you guys. I was saying, but I put me on hold. So nobody picked up. So then I went on Instagram. I sent them a DM. And they sent me the email of the person in charge of sales. So I emailed them asking about their price. And he said they don't just give out their prices unless they get an official tender with detailed technical specifications of what I want. And I told him I'm a journalist. I'm trying to verify how much the Nigerian minister spent on the fire trucks that he purchased from them. And suddenly I stopped hearing from him. For days now, I haven't heard back. But if he should respond, I will let you guys know. But I understand why he didn't respond. They don't want to jeopardize their bilateral relationship with Nigeria. However, when San Jose International Airport in California purchased similar fire trucks in 2017, if you ignore the color, you will see that they are very similar. So I don't know. I'm not saying that this is the same truck. It's definitely not the same. But this ones that they purchased, they announced that the total cost for the 2 brand new fire trucks was $1.6 million. And that includes the purchase price, the cost of inspections, and training. That means they spent $800,000 on each truck. Now, let's assume that the price went up. Let's assume that, that was 2017. Now it's 900,000 or even 1 million. I don't know. I still do not believe that the minister spent like 1.4 million just to ship it and clear customs. In fact, because it's owned by the federal government, I like to believe that they waive customs for them. I don't even think they should spend up to $100,000 to import each of these trucks to Nigeria. I may be wrong, I just feel like I don't know how my father got to this $2.4 million on each vehicle. The number is not adding up. Daddy, because you're watching now, you need to explain what you did with at least $1.4 million on each of these vehicles. $4 million is missing in this equation. Somebody is building a house in the name of us getting brand new fire trucks, and it's not right. So please, Daddy, you need to explain because it's not right. So this is daylight robbery. And speaking of Daddy, yes, Daddy, yes. Let's talk about the yes, Daddy audio tape.
Daddy, I need you to speak to the people in the Southwest. Your people in the Southwest. And Kwara. Okay.
Obi and Oyedepo. Who was stock exchange? Where is it?
This is a religious war. I believe that. I do in Lagos or Abuja. I'm in on the channel. Good. So you'll be
you
there
and your
for
family.
Election. Yes, sir. Very good. Yes, sir. That's where to be. Thank you.
So I'm sure that you guys must have listened to it. I am looking at this from different angles. First of all, I do agree that people's private phone conversations should not be made public. That's a breach of privacy. I cannot stress that enough. Unless it's a terrorist that is planning to attack or people's lives are at stake, I don't think people's private conversations should be made public. At the same time, we should always be objective. If something is wrong, let's condemn it, regardless of whether or not someone is your candidate. So opinions are saying that the audio is not real, that it's AI generated, which is possible. We're seeing many recordings lately made with artificial intelligence, and it's scary. There's also music in the background, which is weird. Someone must have added that. People don't just, play music when you're making phone calls on both sides. Also, Peter Obi in the audio tape said he had arrived on Onitsha to vote, but he actually voted in Agulu, so that doesn't add up. Peter Obi has denied this. He released a series of tweets. However, in this case,
politicians,
me, I don't believe Peter Obi.
all the same.
I'm not saying that they lie. I'm just saying, everybody
politicians,
has a right to
lawyers, and so on and so forth.
And I'm not saying that AI is not real, and I'm not saying that the audio is not doctored. But I'll tell you why I don't believe Peter Obi or the bishop. Because earlier, a spokesperson for the Labour Party, Kenneth Okonkwo, had said that this audio was doctored in order to remove some parts of the conversation. And in his words, what he said political criminals are trying to spin the conversation as if Obi was making a religious statement. This tells me that whether it was doctored or not, some parts of the conversation happened. He's saying they removed some parts. He didn't say it didn't happen at all. And even the way Peter Obi debunked it, if someone uses your voice to say some things that you did not say, there's a way you cry out to that is not me. It sounds like my voice, but I never heard anybody. And I know he debunked it at first, but it took him days to release his own statement, on Twitter, to tweet about it. Even what the bishop said was that he doesn't campaign for politicians. He didn't say, Peter Obi never called me to discuss so. Yes, he calls me, we talk, but this particular conversation did not take place. He didn't say that. And that's just me. I don't believe them. You can believe whoever you want to believe. That's just, and I'm not denying artificial intelligence. But if somebody should use my voice to create a conversation that did not happen, you will not hear the end of it. I also found it interesting that Peter Obi is now threatening to sue the People's Gazette, when his party had already announced to us that the audio was leaked by a prodigal brother. They know who leaked the audio.
Then you've already accepted.
And from my findings, the editor of the People's Gazette alerted Peter Obi and the bishop before releasing the tape, asking for their reaction. For 2 days, they kept saying they would release a statement. They didn't react, and then the person published the audio. He did not do anything wrong. Once again, media freedom must be protected. I don't care who is in power, whether it's APC, whether it's Peter Obi. You must protect media rights. How can you say you want to sue People's Gazette for releasing the tape that was sent to them after they contacted you to know your opinion about it? You did not say anything. And you said you knew who leaked the tape. You are not suing the person. It is the media that you want to sue. Whatever we are doing, that's supposed to be happening. Once again, I'm not saying that the whole thing is real. It must have been doctored, things moved around. But I have reasons to believe that some part of the conversation took place. Now, whether you believe it's real or not is not the main issue. The main issue is, this is another reminder for us as a nation to learn to separate politics from religion. Politics should be based on someone's competence, their performance, not their religion or the religious leaders that they know or associate with. The question should always be, can he do the job? Can she do the job? And that's why I make fun of politicians when religious gatherings, during elections, as well as religious leaders telling their followers who to vote for, whether Christian or Muslim. I've always condemned this issue. If you didn't see me condemn Christian, go and watch other tape. If you didn't see me condemn Muslim, go and watch other tape. Please don't come after me and say, oh, you didn't say anything. Every time I talk about this, the followers of the religious leader will always come after me. How can you say, Mommy Gio should not say this or that? I said, sure. When it comes to politics, people should be allowed to exercise their fundamental human rights based on their personal conviction. Now, the reason I said we must always condemn something if it's wrong, regardless of whoever the supporting is, just imagine for a minute that the audio is allegedly that of Tinubu or Shetima. A lot of those people saying that it's AI generated will not even think twice before condemning Tinubu. They would have turned it into a song, a meme.
Of course.
And I'm not saying that it couldn't be AI generated. We had the one of Atiku, that one is fake. But I'm saying let's always
pictures about Tinubu from.
This will help us to be able to hold people accountable. It doesn't mean that you don't support them, but you must always hold them accountable as well. So did you guys pick the thumbs up? Real quick for those asking, yes, we're having our Easter sales at Adobe's starting on Friday. Good Friday until Monday. 15% off of all products except our newest addition.
Anyway, thanks so much for that, my beautiful lady. Now, Let's move on to Baba Oloye Igboho Osha and compare it to the one we did yesterday. We did yesterday. Let's say we did, because I wasn't the only one on that program. So, where is it again? Let me check. Kawari nkan tí bàbá wa tún sọ. Bàbá àtàtà. Ẹ káàárọ̀ bàbá mi. Thank you. Mo rí mẹ́sẹ̀jì yín. Ẹ ṣé. Mo dúpẹ́. Ẹ ṣé o. Ṣé ń tẹ̀lé ètò láti Nàìjíríà? Ẹ ṣé. So now let me check the number for that. Ẹ gbọ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ. Irọ́ ti pọ̀ jù fún wọn lórílẹ̀‐èdè tá a gbé wà yẹn. Irọ́ lórí irọ́. Lórí irọ́. Bó bá ṣe ń pa kan, náà máa fi mí ìbò lórí. Náà máa fi mí ìbò lórí. Ẹ wá ní kó má sùúyàn. Ẹ ní kó má sùúyàn. Ó máa sùúyàn náà. Ó máa sùúyàn. Wọ́n lódodo kì í ṣe òtítọ́ nìkan ló ń gbórílẹ̀-èdè lékè. Ẹ purọ́ fún wa lénìí. Ẹ tún wá lọ́la. Ẹ tún pa mí. Who does that? Àfẹ̀yìn náà nìkan. Ọ̀dọ̀ yín náà nìkan la sì ń gbọ́rú ẹ̀. Èmi náà ti sọ pé ká ní sùúrù tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n nígbà mo wá rí i pé sùúrù lórí irọ́. Ẹ jẹ́ a gbọ́ ohun tí bàbá wa fẹ́ sọ ń bì báyìí kí n tó wá sọ. Mo free lé ní bàjẹ́. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bàbá mi yẹn. Ẹ gbọ́ ohun tí bàbá yìí sọ.
وسميتني عبدا وشرفتني قدرا كل شافعا حبيبي رسول الله كل شافعا أجرني يوم تبلى سرائر أجرني يوم تبلى سرائر لكل نبي في العالم فضيلة وجملتها مجموعة لمحمد صلاتي وتسليمي.
New one eléyìí tí bàbá ṣe kì í ṣe old.
وأزكى تحيتي على المصطفى المختار خير البرية على المصطفى المختار خير البرية سمعت بمحيي الدين
Mo náyè lénìí. Hours bá máa tèkì. Mi ò kánjú.
ونعديت يا جيلاني ادخل العذرة ونعديت يا جيلاني ادخل العذرة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
Okay, I've seen your message.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونشكره ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا محمدا صلى الله عليه وسلم عبده ورسوله والصلاة والسلام على حبيبنا رسولنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم 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 وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبع هداهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Adúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run. Ẹ jẹ́ a dúpẹ́ náà dáadáa. Bí o bá ṣe ara rẹ̀ síwájú Ọlọ́run dúpẹ́. A ní ẹni tí a lè dúpẹ́ fún jọ Ọlọ́run lọ.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Ọpẹ́ látọ̀dọ̀ wa sọ́dọ̀ ẹnìkan kì í ṣe túláàsì. Ọ̀rẹ́ ni ó fún ni lóúnjẹ tó fún ni lówó lánàá. Ọba dọ̀là ó lè wọ́ ọ̀pọ̀ ẹ̀wọ̀n fún ọ.
Allahu Akbar.
Ṣùgbọ́n tọ́lọ́run ò rí bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ọlọ́run má ṣe ti mi bẹ́ẹ̀.
Ọlọ́run lé mi lọ́ba síbú ṣe rere.
Òun ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ní Yorùbá
nation. Òun lọ́ba apani, òun náà lọ́ba ajíni. Gbogbo oge láyé tí ń gbọ́ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ó sọ dùnú kalẹ̀ ń bẹ̀. Bí ọba sì wá máa sọ ara rẹ̀ gan fún rẹ̀ kalẹ̀. Ẹ máa wá pariwo ẹ̀ pé Ọlọ́run ò èyí ò wá pọ̀. Léyìí pọ̀ ò sì ṣàánú. Bọ́bá ẹgbẹ́ gba ká pa yín ni mo ti bá yín ṣàdéhùn pípa tẹ́lẹ̀.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Àdéhùn mi ò sì ní yẹ̀.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Mo èmi ò sì bá yín ṣàdéhùn owó.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Mi ò bá yín ṣàdéhùn ọlá.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Tí mo gbọ́rọ̀ yín lé lórí ni pé bọ́bá ṣe wù mí ni n ó ṣe é.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Ẹnìkan ò sì ní bí mí léèrè.
Alámúkàrà ó.
Ẹ màrán wò ni. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nǹkan wà tẹ́mi Ọlọ́run ṣe tẹ́ kíyèsí ẹsẹ̀ ẹ̀kan tó yẹ tẹ́ kan wò ni pé ó wà nọ́mà. Ó wà nọ́mà. Ẹ wá dúró tí mo rọ̀ fún yín. Ẹ wo òòrùn tí ń ràn lọ́wọ́ yín. Bàbá dúró nú ẹ̀ tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run tá a gbogbo ajókòó mẹ́ náà ta gàgà sórí bọ́lọ̀ bá gbé nǹkan ò lè ṣe wá kò ní í ṣe wá. Béèyàn bá sì ń bẹ́nu èsì lọ́wọ́ nísìnyí tí wọ́n ń yọjú wò wá ó lè dìde bẹ̀ káàárẹ̀ ọ̀bẹ.
Mo gbọ́ nǹkan tí bàbá yìí sọ.
Ọlọ́run gbogbo tí mo ṣe wọ̀nyí náà ẹ̀ wo ẹbẹ̀sẹ̀ lẹ́sìn rìn wá bí. Ṣé gbogbo ayé la wá fún lẹ́sẹ̀? Ojú lẹ fi rí náà ríra yín lẹ fi ń kíra yín. Ẹni tí ó lójú sọ́mọ yẹn yẹn tó wà ń bí.
Mo kí ní Ọ̀túnba Ọlábọ̀dé òṣèlú ní Jámánì ẹ kú gbádùn o. Ṣé ẹ enjoy?
Nígbà tí MC wa ń sọ pé gbogbo oníkálukú ọ̀dà kẹfẹ́ mú ẹbẹ́ ni ọba létí ní ọ̀gbọ́. Bọ́ọ̀bá létí ò lè gbọ́.
Sàkárà làkún máa fi sàmá wá tì wà bá
Ọba bí onígbà wà láàrin wa ní kí ọba gbé ẹnu sétí rẹ̀ tó kú ìyá rẹ̀ tó kú bàbá rẹ̀ yóò sì máa rẹ́rìn.
Ó tọ́ ni bàbá mi.
Ṣùgbọ́n ọba ìṣàdédé mú
àwọn nǹkan wà tẹ máa bí ìtùnú nǹkan sọ. Àwọn nǹkan míì wà tí ò tẹ mọ̀ èèyàn kan wọn understand ni. Jíjẹ́ gbogbo nǹkan sọ náà ni a máa gbà.
ní mo ṣe oore tẹ́lẹ̀ fi ara yín mo ṣe fún yín.
Àdìlẹ́sìn tí wà nìkan lọ́nà máa kàn.
Sọ ìrẹ̀tẹ̀. Èyí tó hàn ní gbogbo nǹkan àti mẹ́nu kan yẹn, èyí tó wá pamọ́ ń kọ́. Masha Allah. Ẹni a lè béèrè yẹn lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀, kò ní ká béèrè lọ́wọ́ chairman local government wa. Olóòótọ́ ni àmójúmọ̀ yìí ti gbẹ́dá bá pàdé ní ibi tẹlifíṣàn.
Oníkálukú lẹ́nu tó ń gbèjà lẹ́rí.
Olóòótọ́ ni wàhálà ìbẹ̀ ti sọ̀rọ̀ dáadáa náà lẹ́sùn. Ọwọ́ àpò òótọ́ kan tí mo fẹ́ kẹ́ ẹ sọ fún jàmbá mi. Òótọ́ ni o, ẹ sọ bọ́ bá ṣe jẹ́ ni o, ìlú láti wá máa ń lólóòótọ́ gédégbé. Ẹ dákun ìlú ní bẹ́lá káàntì. Ẹ̀yin jàmá bàbá 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 béèrè báwọn á ti ní fàyàbalẹ̀ ní àní fàyàbalẹ̀ bí akúrú ti ní tí a máa gbogbo kan yóò gbé. Wọ́n ti fẹ́ sọ. Bọ́ọ̀lù mi wà lè sọ ẹjẹ́ bèrè lọ́wọ́ ìyá wa. Ìyá wa deputy governor. Báwo ni ó ṣe máa rẹ́ owó ní sọ́ba? Ọlọ́run náà ṣe é tọ́pamọ́ fún yín. Oore kan nìyẹn náà lọ́tọ̀. Àṣẹ fún yín. Àwọn ẹnìkan sì ń bẹ tó pé tó bá bọ́ gbangba ní yóò ojú orí yín orí gbogbo ti ń bẹ lára mi yìí. Kọ́ bọ̀ kódà owó ti ń èsì lálẹ́ mò ní lọ́wọ́. Sàkárà làkó wá fi sàmáwátì wà máa fẹ̀ láàbí. Àwọn kan sì ní bá wọn lè sọ fún yẹn. Wà á sí bàbá alẹ́ ikú ọ̀dẹ àbàwò. Sọ ìrẹ̀ tẹ́ wọn bá. Ìrẹ̀ tẹ́ wà bá ti dàtà. Ọba tó wá sí àwọn oore yìí fún wa, ó fún wa lóore tójú, ó fún wa ní tetí, ó fún wa ní tẹsẹ̀, ó fún wa ní tọwọ́, ó wá gbé ẹ̀ǹdì kan sínú agbárí wa. Ìyẹn la fi ń kọ̀ǹtró ìgbésí ayé wa. Ṣé kò tí ì ṣe tó? Wà á tako mi kú lè máa sàálì tùkú. Ọlọ́ni kò sí tẹ́ béèrè tí mo fún yín o. Mi kú lè máa sàálì tùkú. Ẹni ọba ti kó ń béèrè gangan lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run tó ní òfò nǹkan bọ́ gbangba ní gbogbo wa ó dojú bò ó. Oore wọn yóò ṣe fún un ní ìsìn náà mo jẹ́ ìjọba tó dájú. Ìbí ọ̀wá máa owó lè kọ́ lójú o. Ó lè gbé ṣubú o tó ti ní òṣòro kankan fún un. Ọlọ́run wà pé oore pọ̀ àhà. Kó wọ́n fọ́ yẹn lójú oore náà. Kó mi kú lè máa sàálè tó. Ọpẹ́ yìí bá a bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí í sọ ń pẹ́ títí dalẹ́ àwà ń bíbà yìí. Ọlọ́run wá ní dáwùdú ní mẹ́tàlá yìí láàbò sọ wa. Gbogbo tí mo ṣe fún yẹn ilé kankan. Ẹ̀ ń sún ẹ̀ ń jí. Wọ́n ń dáná oúnjẹ fún ọlọ́gànjọ́ òru ìwọ́ tó ń jẹ́ lọ́sàn-án bí ẹni ọfẹ́ ẹ̀ lè jẹun bí ikán.
Ó bí tèmi báyìí.
Ó tún dòwú náà ìyàwó rẹ̀ tún kó owó ẹ̀ kalẹ̀ náà ó tún parí ẹ̀ ó tún wá ń sọ pé àáfà wa.
Àwẹ̀ wà.
Ẹ má máa ara ilé mọ́. Mo lè wà ń jẹ́ kí ní ọ̀hún sí.
Alájà àwẹ̀ náà wà. Ìgbà mi mo ti já o.
Fẹ́ ka orí tèmi Ọlọ́run ṣe fún yẹn lè kàtà o.
Ìtarọ́bù mo ti já o.
Bàbá àwọn àgbà.
Ó jẹ̀ fún bẹ́ẹ̀.
Lọ́wọ́ ló mọ̀ ká fárú. Ẹ̀yà láìmoore gbogbo ẹ̀ náà láti fún yín ẹ̀ sì mú jẹ múra. Ẹ̀ tún máa pariwo náà nípa àti ìṣe kankan. Kò tí ì tó bẹ́ẹ̀ ni tá a bá dẹ tí ó tó sí ayé ó sì fún yín. Ìmọ̀lẹ̀ ìsà. Oore tó wá ṣe fún àkọ́kọ́.
tó ga jù láyé ìpàjẹ́ mùsùlùmí. Adúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run.
Ọgbọ́n tó sọ nípa Yorùbá.
Àwẹ̀ ti sin bá wa láyé. A sì tọrọ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ ní gbangba bí náà kọ́ Ọlọ́run dákun jẹ́ àṣẹ mi. A ti sẹ̀mí àbá àti ìsẹ̀mí. Ẹ̀já tún tọrọ lónìí pé kọ́lọ́run ó jẹ́ àṣẹ mi.
Ọlọ́run jẹ́ àṣẹ mi o.
Ọlọ́run ṣàṣì bẹ́ẹ̀ fún wa. Ẹgbẹ́ ọlọ́run bá ẹ jáde gbogbo ẹni tó bá jẹ́ kọ́lọ́run ṣoore fún. Tọ́lọ́run bá ṣoore fún ọ dúpẹ́. Bọ́lọ́run bá ṣoore fún ọ jókòó síbi tó wà. Má dìde. Gbogbo tó o bá ní lọ́wọ́ ọba ní 100 naira lọ́wọ́ òkúkú sówó lù ní kò sówó lù ní owó wá sí ibẹ̀ bí ó wà.
Wọ́n gbà wọlé kò jáde.
Wọ́n wá kọ́ wa lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ pé ká máa yọ ná.
Èmi ń fi lè.
Ẹ ṣàgbé kalẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ ẹ gbé kalẹ̀ ẹ má gbé lọ bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan náà. Wọ́n tó bá fẹ́ dúpẹ́ débẹ̀ bọ́ọ̀ bá gbọ́ Ọlọ́run á sì sọ orí fún ọ débẹ̀.
Ọba mọ pé dáadáa. Ọba dẹ̀ ń sọ oore má dúró tì. Kì í ṣe tó ṣe fún ló máa sán. Má jẹ. Bàbá mi ní tó máa ń ṣe náwó ẹ̀sìn ní ọlọ́run tó bá ń fọwọ́. Owó tí ò fún láti ṣe.
Ọlọ́lá sì ti kọ̀ ọ́, dání ọmọ ọlọ́run lórúkọ. Àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọlọ́lá sì ti kà á, àdùpẹ́ fún ọlọ́run lọ́tọ̀. Àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọlọ́lá sì ti kà á, àdùpẹ́ fún ọlọ́run lọ́tọ̀. Àti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ọlọ́lá sì ti kà á,
Ẹ be happy. Ẹ dúra yín nú. Lójú kòkó bí ìkan tó pa ẹ̀ dídé lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ wọn.
Ahajiwa Zikirullah, ọmọ bàbá wa kábíyèsí yóò kọ dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Ìjọba àpàtàkì lẹ́ǹtì wà láàyè ọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ ẹ sọ bí ò gbàgbé. Nígbà ẹni tí wọ́n ń ṣe ń ṣe ní ìsìn wa kọ́mẹ́ǹtì, ó wá rántí pé bẹ́ẹ̀ lórí lóòótọ́. Dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Ẹni parẹ́ máa yí lára. Ọlátòbí ànábì wa Muhammad.
Mágbọ́n tó fẹ́ sọ nípa bàbá wa.
Ọ̀kan náà là á máa gbẹ́sẹ̀. Àwọn àfọwọ́rin jẹ́ àwọn ní ká gbẹ́sẹ̀ lọ́pọ̀ kan ní bá bá gbé méjì pọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan náà á ṣubú. Ẹ máa gbé lọ́pọ̀ kan báwọn. Ẹ̀yin náà ó gòkè. Ẹ gòkè pátápátá. Tí wọ́n sọ pé excellence ń bọ̀. Ọlọ́run ó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ fún yín. Ọlọ́run ó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ fún yín. Àwọn àtìlẹ́kàlà ayé àmọ̀nàdá wíwò ha bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Ọlọ́run náà gbélé ayé kalẹ̀ ni a máa yí padà báyìí. A máa yí sọ́tọ̀, a máa yí sósì. Bí ọba ti yí sí tọ́ bá yí ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ bóyá ṣe dáadáa. Ọba yìí yí sọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀ mọ́kàn fẹ́ fagbára débẹ̀. Bọ́ ọba fagbára débẹ̀ agbára náà ló fi jáde. Ká máa tó gbé ẹ dáadáa, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ò ní dojúrú. Ọlá nàbí wa Muhammad. Wọ́n á lọ sọ́dọ̀ bàbá wa kábíyèsí. Abáyín dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run. Abáyín dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run. Abáyín dúpẹ́ fọ́lọ́run. Òkọ́ máa ń káwọn ọba kí wọ́n máa mọ Ọlọ́run. Pè sábà fẹ́ mọ Ọlọ́run torí wọ́n fi àwọn fèèkì nǹkan kankan àwọn. Èèyàn làwọn máa wà nígbàgbọ́ lélu bẹ́ẹ̀ ní fèèkì. Fèèkì ni bí bàbá ti sọ báwọn àṣẹ ti gùn. Àṣẹ tọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run àbí tiẹ̀. Àbí láṣẹ lára
wọ́n lọ sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n láṣẹ àti ẹni. Bí deputy governor bá lọ pé ogun akápalẹ̀ máa ń bí ní ìjìyẹ palẹ̀ báwo ní kálukọ́ ọkọ̀ ilé bá a bá palẹ̀ mọ́ àwọn tí ó lè à ń bí.
Power hàn lóko.
Tọ́ ọba tó fi yín síbẹ̀ tó ní ẹ máa jó lórí ìlú ọlọ́run ọba ò ní jọ́ dàrú ẹ̀yin lọ́wọ́. Mo fẹ́ kí gbogbo yín tẹ́ ẹ bá jọba ní òkúṣe tí ní létí bàbá wa Awujale. Àwọn ti tò ìgbésí ayé láti ìpìlẹ̀ pé ọlọ́run ni mo mọ̀ ọlọ́run náà ló sì mọ̀ mí. Nígbà tí bá sọ fọ́lọ́run pé ìwọ ni mo mọ̀ kò ní fi mí lẹ̀. Nǹkan tí bàbá dúró lé lórí wọ́n sọ ọ̀rọ̀ kan fún mi ní Ìrèké ní ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí náà ni àbọ̀tẹ̀ tó kọjá ọ̀sẹ̀ tó kọjá MC tòní náà ló ṣe MC mbẹ̀. Wọ́n wá fi bàbá kan hàn ní àfáà wọ́n ní bàbá náà wọ́n ló ṣe dáadáa púpọ̀ wọ́n ní ọba kan àwọn ológun ní báwọn ní kẹ́lẹ́ kan ọba náà wọ́n wà àwọn olóró wọ́n ní àwọn alẹ́ òkú àwọn ní àwọn làwọn owó sí ìmáàmù wọn á débẹ̀ pé tí ọba jẹ́ pé Al-Qur'ani bá ń jẹ́ Al-Qur'ani ẹ súnmọ́ bẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá súnmọ́ bẹ̀ tí náà bá sọ lára yín ẹ sọ pé kì í so. Ara àwọn ìmáàmù Ìjẹ̀bú náà ni o. So ọ̀rọ̀ ń wá dojúrú ìmáàmù Isa wẹ òkú yìí ọba náà wọn kò ń tọ̀ ọ wá wẹ òkú yìí ó sì sin.
Kí ló wá ṣẹlẹ̀?
Nílànà Islam wọ́n wá gbọ́rọ̀ lọ́dọ̀ bàbá wa Awujale. Bàbá Awujale wá ní
kábíyèsí o.
Àfà àwọn ti ṣe.
Kábíyèsí bàbá.
Àfi ká máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ pé àfà náà máa jólódodo tó sì lè wí báwọn ká máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Bàbá wa láwọn fi lélẹ̀ kódà bóyá ọba bí wọn bá ti lè sọ ọ́ lórúkọ mùsùlùmí tó sì jọba ọba àwa jókòó tóró àbí ojókòó tẹ eégún kó o gbé lọ́rọ̀ Ọlọ́run nígbà ọba kú á sí wọn nísìnyí mùsùlùmí ni. Bàbá rẹ̀ ti pàṣẹ wọ́n gbà kóyà níbẹ̀ náà wọ́n ti sọ fún mi.
Títí eégún yẹn entertainment.
Wọ́n ní bí ọ̀sẹ̀ mẹ́ta sẹ́yìn àbí méjì wọ́n ní jàbúrò ìwé àbí. Wọ́n ní wọ́n sin pẹ̀lú pé àṣẹ tí bàbá fi lélẹ̀.
Wọ́n fọ́lù àṣẹ.
Wọ́n ní tó kú náà ni wọ́n sin ọ̀rọ̀ ẹnìkan ó sọ̀rọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ọ̀rọ̀ wo ni ń bo lọ́wọ́. Ẹ mẹ́jì àtàrà wa jẹ mọ́. Gbogbo àwọn tó ń ṣẹbọ wọ̀nyí ẹ lé wọn kúrò ń bẹ̀ ẹ wáṣẹ́ gidi fún wa. Ẹ wáṣẹ́ fún wa. Dókítà gbọ̀ngàn ẹ dákun ẹ ṣiṣẹ́ lórí ẹ̀. Ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ yàn bá ní iṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ náà dẹ̀rẹ̀ ní ọmọ ṣe o.
Yọkọ̀ máa ní bá fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀.
Ẹ̀yin wí o bàbá.
Àbí mo sọ fún ẹ lọ́yọ̀ọ́ àná àbí ìjẹta kan.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ta ìjẹta.
Mo sọ fún ẹ náà mo lọ bá kú láti ẹjọ́ yẹn tí ìjọba. Ẹ̀yin afọbajẹ́dà gbogbo wọn dìde nàró mo ní ẹ̀yin abúlé yìí wọ̀nyí. Ẹ̀yin abú ṣé Ifá ò tí ì sọ̀rọ̀ láti ẹjọ́ yẹn. Àbí bí owó yẹ èèyàn apply fún àwọn fẹ́ jọba wà á rẹ́rì Ifá ọ̀dà àpò ẹnìkan kan ní gbogbo wọn. Ẹ̀yin kó fádà nù kẹ́ jẹ́ aṣọ òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ fúnra wa.
Ẹ̀yin wí bàbá.
Àbí ọlọ́run àfọ̀kànṣó rẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀. Islam ọlọ́run ò ní jẹ́ ká ayé ọba wa. Ọlọ́run ti wọ Muhammad. So mo kí.
Ẹ ṣé bàbá mi ẹ láwẹ̀ tí bá wẹ̀ lẹ̀
bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Mo wá kí bàbá wa Arọ̀hís bí níyàbá. Bàbá ti rọ́bà ń lé gbákejì ọba òun náà lọ bá. Bàbá wa Naibul Imam. Gbogbo akilẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀bú àwọn ní ajókòó lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ mi. Àbí ọlọ́run àjọ wà lásàrò náà ni àjọ wà mọ́rán tí bá a ṣe kẹ́kẹ́ kan lẹ̀ wọ́n tí wọ́n béèrè lọ bàbá gbé sí ẹgbẹ́ òun lásàrò ní wọn àwọn òkú àárí ẹbí ìsìlámù làwa ń ṣe. Àti màá wá mà pé kò jẹ́ wà yọ padà wá kà wọ́n. Náà lọ́wọ́ padà kàn yìí ẹ sì dúró lórí ẹsẹ̀ yín. Wọ́n gbé ìmáàmù mi àbí náírà ìmáàmù mi la pè pé kó ṣàdúrà bẹ̀rẹ̀ fún wa. Ọ̀tọ̀ ní tí ọmọ wí ó lè lọ gbé wúdúrà kan tí yóò jẹ́ tàlìjà nù wá.
Ewu túbà kan tó wà tó lẹ́jẹ́ tàlùjọ̀nù bàbá. Ó ga confusion.
Bàbá ayé òní ẹgbàjẹ́ máa ń lọ́wọ́. Ẹ̀yin náà sì ní ìbàjẹ́ máa ń lọ́wọ́. Azari United Family. Azari United Family. Azari United Family. Ọlọ́mọ ṣàánú wa.
Ọlọ́mọ gbogbo wa náà.
Lẹ́yìn náà, wá ṣàdúrà fún àwọn àyà wa. Màmá wa olórí àgbà. Mo rò pé bí ọdún.
Wọ́n máa gbọ́ wọn kan sí bàbá yìí.
Láti àjọ ń bẹ mí náà. Màmá dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́. Ẹ jèrè àwọn ọmọ yín. Ẹ jèrè àwọn ọmọ yín. Ẹ lò rọrùn láyé. Ẹ lò dùnú láyé. Dáadáa yóò ní bàjẹ́.
Àmì o, mi náà mo bá wọn ṣàmì fún mi náà.
Báyìí ayé lónìí kò ní bàjẹ́ máa ń lọ.
Àmì o.
Ìró òdùnú rẹ̀ sì máa gbọ́ sí gbogbo àwọn ọmọ.
Àlámọ̀ àmì o, nínú kankan sọ́mọ làkejì tó kù tiẹ̀.
Allahu Akbar. Tí bàbá wa bá tọ̀ bàbá wa wọ́n ń ṣe 80 years. Wọ́n ti 89 years.
89 bàbá wa a máa sọ̀rọ̀ ń pa yín.
Wọ́n ní May 10 ó ní bàbá ó pé 89. Wọ́n sì wá ṣe 63 years lórí oyè pé àwọn jọba. Sáyé wá rí báyìí ńgbà náà. Ayé ò tí ì bàjẹ́ báyìí ńgbà náà. Automatically system táwọn ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n máa bá lọ. Ẹ̀mí bàbá ogun o. Ẹ sàmì níjẹ̀. Ẹ sàmì dáadáa. Ẹ̀mí bàbá ogun. Ojú wo sì ní ìlú. Gbogbo àwọn ọmọ wọn pátá. Ọlọ́run ó ṣe wọ́n lónú. Ẹnìkan ò ní ṣerú ara wọn. Àárín bàbá pẹ̀lú Ọlọ́run ní jọ́ dàrú. Àárín bàbá àtọlọ́run ní jọ́ dàrú. Bàbá tí ń ṣe nǹkan ìyanu ti pẹ́. Wàláhì. Ẹni ìwé àti mo bá wà, mo máa ń ṣàdúrà fún bàbá. Torí bàbá tí ń ṣe nǹkan ìyanu ti pẹ́. Nígbà àwọn olóṣèlú kan wá gbówó fún ọgbà. Ẹni kílẹ̀ ní fi ṣe ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́ máa gbé lọ. Àwọn tí òrò ń jẹjẹ wọn pọ̀ láàrin ìlú. Àwọn ọba kan sì ń gbàjẹ wọn sọ́wọ́.
Ọba mélòó ló lè ṣe irú?
Nígbà tí bàbá wa gba nǹkan gbà náà, wọ́n lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀ àbí wọn ò lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀?
Wọ́n lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀. Bàbá yìí ni mo rí ti ń fi lọ sí uni nígbà tán padà lọ ilé ìwé.
Ẹ ṣe déédéé torí kò nìkan níbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run. Àbí Ọlọ́run
kádàrá wá ní àdàgbàjẹ́rà òfin kí ló tún lọ ṣe. Bàbá lọ sílé ìwé padà. Mẹ́wàá kan sí. Mẹ́wàá kan sí. Ẹ pẹ́ bàbá.
Ọlọ́run ó ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ fún wa. Ọlọ́run wa Muhammad. Tọ́ lẹ́yìn náà, mo wá kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin màmá wa. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin màmá wa káàdì ẹ̀sẹ̀ máa dákọ̀ yín. Ṣùgbọ́n mo wọ́n máa dákọ̀ ìyàwó mi ti bẹ́ẹ̀ láàrin.
Ẹ bá mi gbé fún bàbá, ẹ bá mi show love.
Ṣẹ́yìn ọ̀ka.
Ẹ bá mi press ẹ̀ live bàbá. Odòdó ọ̀rọ̀.
Ìdájọ́ wa Kánò lẹ́yìn tó dẹ̀ ti dé Jẹ̀bú báyìí.
Ó ti dé Jẹ̀bú. Ó wá dọ̀rọ̀ àbójú lọ́kọ mi ń Jẹ̀bú. Olùkókó òní ọkọ rẹ̀ wà kó wá sọ Débì kó tún wá lọ́kọ mi. Ọlọ́mọ sábà ń ṣàánú rẹ̀. Ọlọ́mọ sábà ń ṣàánú rẹ̀. Àtúnwá àti gbogbo àwọn àbúrò ẹ̀dá àjọ lu Kánò dáadáa ẹ̀rẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan ò ní bàjẹ́. Ọlọ́run náà ní bàbá Muhammad. La haula.
Wala quwwata. Àjọkẹ́ wo lè ṣe?
Ọlọ́mọ bá ṣàánú yín. Ọlọ́mọ ṣàánú yín. Ọlọ́mọ ṣàánú yín. Ọlọ́mọ dá yín. Ẹjọ́ ọlọ́mọ dá yín. Níjọ́ wọn ti dáyé ni a ti jẹ́ àṣàrò yìí. Wàláhì ọba ìyá yìí ṣe bí odidi ọdún mẹ́wàá àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló
dájọ́ dọwọ́ bàbá mi lókè.
tí sì ná owó ojoojúmọ́ àbí Ọlọ́run ní dẹni àná sì ní parẹ́ máyé lára ọjà àdúgbò tọ́lọ́ ń dá fún yín kò ní ìdìbò àtúnjẹ́ la hawla wala quwwata. Tọ́
nǹkan important.
Gbogbo ẹ̀yin ìyá wa ẹ ṣàmílẹ̀ mẹ́ta kí n ṣàdúrà fún yín o.
Àmín. Àmín. Àmín ya Rabbi.
Àdúrà náà ni pé Ọlọ́run jẹ́ jèrè àwọn ọmọ yín.
Àmín. Ẹ ṣàmì o àtẹ̀yìn bàbá wa náà. Àmín.
Ọlọ́run ní sọmọ yín dọ̀tá yín o.
Àlámọ̀ àmín o.
Ọlọ́run ní kọ́ yín ara yín síra.
Àlámọ̀ àmín.
Ẹ jèrè wọn o.
Ní bá ní kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá tó ṣẹ̀dá. Àlámọ̀ àmín.
Ẹ jèrè wọn o.
Àmín.
Tọ́ bí ẹ bá gbé jèrè wọn lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ní jẹ́ tari wa sáré kìí.
Àlámọ̀ àmín bàbá mi.
Àwa náà jẹ́ mẹ́ o.
Ẹ ṣé bàbá mi.
Àwa náà tọ́ra àwa làwa tọ́jú yín o. Ẹ̀ẹ́dì bí máa wà tọ́jú ọmọ yín o. Ọlọ́mọ jẹ́ tari wa sáré kìí àmọ́ o. Àjọ jẹ́ ni o. Àjọ jẹ́ ni o.
Àmín. Níta gbìnà dìde o. Àlámọ̀ àmín.
Mo kí gbogbo wa jàmá ní ìlú Ìjẹ̀bú Òde níbí. Àpò ọ̀nà àkúyèdó. Ọlọ́run ó ṣíjú àánú ẹ̀ wò wá.
Àlámọ̀ àmín bàbá.
Ààwẹ̀ tó dé.
Àwẹ̀ wà o.
Ọ̀pọ̀ ẹni tí ń gbà á. Ọ̀pọ̀ ẹni tí bá ń gbà á.
Ẹ máa gbọ́ nǹkan rí o.
Ọlọ́run bá mi kẹ́ ààrẹ Mùsùlùmí gbogbo ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Tọ́bọ̀ sáré kìí àmọ́. Alájà Blasis Àríjẹpọ́lá àdàwà. Ó ní bí mo ṣe dára àbò ètò. Lọ́tọ̀ bá kí lè da aago méjìlá, mo lè bẹ́ẹ̀ nìkan kan sọ̀rọ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ nù wá gbà mo ní ẹsẹ̀ ámì rẹ̀ kájẹ ẹ̀rí pẹ́ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀. Ẹlòmíì náà kò gbé ìlú ìsìn báyìí. Ọlọ́run dákun ṣàánú wa. Ọlọ́run kó ṣàánú wa. Kutiba alaykumul siyam.
Ṣàdúrà fún bàbá mi wọn.
Ìdí ti ẹlẹ́jọ́.
Wọ́n ní fìlà ọ̀gá ó sì wà lórí lọ́dún tó lọ. Ọlọ́dún yìí.
Bàbá wa ìmáàmù. Ọlọ́run bá wa ṣàánú. Orí àwọn sọ̀kalẹ̀ inú mọ́tò ẹ̀rú gbà mí. Àmúlé ti jẹ́ òtí ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ àwọn ẹ̀tì. Lókùn fi lẹ́rìn nípa àpọ̀ tó láì. Àbí Ọlọ́run wọlé àdẹ́gbà hápẹ́.
Àwọn ìyàwó mi ń ṣiṣẹ́
Ọlọ́run àgbògbúrú.
Àwọn ìyàwó mi ń ṣiṣẹ́ tọ̀sọ́tò.
Ṣé ìkéṣà àti pé wọ́n ń fún ọ lóúnjẹ ẹ̀jẹ̀ lọ́sàn-án? Àbí láwọn ìyàwó mi ti dá láwọn ìyàwó àwọn yòókù òṣìṣẹ́ yìí.
Àṣẹ Mr. Rock, thank you. God bless you.
Ìmáàmù wa ọjọ́ ọmọdé ó sì jẹ́ ọmọ àlùbáríkà. Wàláhì ìyàwó mi máa ń dòṣì lójoojúmọ́ ni.
Olúwa tóbi, àfìgbà kan kígbe òtútù. Àtúlọ́yẹ mú bí ọ̀rọ̀. Àlámọ̀ àmín.
Gbogbo àdúrà tó bá sì ń ṣe fún wa ní Ansarudeen ní bí tó ń ṣe fọ́mọdé ṣe fọ́gbàlagbà Ọlọ́run ó máa gbà á. Ọlọ́run wá ní taari tiẹ̀ náà dànù.
Àlámọ̀ àmín ọkùnrin taari ti gbogbo wa dànù.
Ọ̀ láṣẹ yọrí o. Ọ̀ láṣẹ yọrí o. Ọ̀ láṣẹ yọrí o. Láhàúlà.
The role of governance and citizen participation in ensuring sound democratic dispensation. Ojúṣe ìjọba àtàràlù.
Ojúṣe tọ̀tọ̀tọ̀ bàbá wa náírà ìmá wọ́n ní owó ìmáàmù lò Ọlọ́run gbà bẹ́ẹ̀. Tọ́ nísìnyí jàmá ojúṣe ìjọba àtàràlù
láti lè jẹ́ kí ìjọba àwa ara wa.
Ìjọba ara wa kó fẹsẹ̀ múlẹ̀.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Masha Allah.
Ayyuhal ladhina amanu.
Allah.
Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum. La
bàbá mi tó bá palá àfa báyìí.
Mi ò fẹ́ kó ju bẹ̀ yẹn lọ. Ayé àkọ́rọ̀
wọ́n ti ṣẹ́ owó tuntun tó máa yá lù wọ́n owó tán fún wa á yá lọ wọn láàfáà.
Kutiba alaykum siyamu.
Bọ́lá ń bá fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ọmọ àwọn tí ó pè.
ẹ má bàa mi yè síbò ní o.
Bọ́lá sọ pé ayéwá lẹ́yìn yẹn àmàlù ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ mà mí lọ́lọ́run ní pè wò.
fẹ́ràn láti dá
Bọ́lá
sí
pé ayéwá náà ẹ̀yin onígbàgbénu ẹ̀yin tó gbé bá a ṣe yín lóore ẹ̀ gbàgbé bá a bá tó ṣe yín kà náà ń gba ara bá tù yín náà ẹ̀ tún gbàgbé.
onígbàgbé ni
Ṣùgbọ́n
wá.
wá ń pe àwọn tó gbàgbọ́ ní ìyá yìí. Ọlọ́run lẹ́yìn tẹ́ ẹ gbà mí gbọ́. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ẹ pera yín Mùsùlùmí òdodo. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Ọlọ́run náà ṣàwẹ̀ tá à ń gbà lọ́wọ́ ìyàwó Ramadan. A ṣe ní ọ̀ranyàn lórí gbogbo yín.
Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum.
Ọlọ́run ní mi ò fi bínú yín o.
ṣó ń gbọ́ Àjọkẹ́.
Àwọn tó ṣáájú yín àwọn bàbá ńlá bàbá yín bí mo ṣe ṣàwẹ̀ yín lọ́rùn àyàn fún wọn náà nù.
La'allakum
kí ló wá ṣe wọ́.
tattaquna. La'allakum tattaqun.
Ọlọ́run ní kò sí tó jẹ́ iṣẹ́ lọ́rùn àyàn nítorí kẹ́ ẹ lè bẹ̀rù èmi Ọlọ́run. Afẹ́kólówó ọbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run lásìkò yìí. Kí tálíkà ọbẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run. Ẹni tó rí jẹ kó bẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run. Ẹni tó rí mu kó bẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run. Ẹni tí ò ní kankan rárá kò ní ó fi bẹ̀rù Ọlọ́run ṣe wọn àbátọ́ bá ní lágbára. La'allakum tattaqun.
La'allakum tattaquna.
Jalla malamu.
La'allakum tattaquna.
Allah.
La'allakum tattaqun.
Ẹ pariwo náà jàmá. Bí ọwọ́ rẹ méjèèjì ó ṣòfin pariwo náà.
Allahu Akbar.
Pariwo ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i.
Allahu Akbar.
Pariwo ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i.
Allahu Akbar. agbóluwàjà.
La'allakum tattaqun. Ọlọ́run ní ẹ ti bẹ̀bẹ̀rù èmi Ọlọ́run ẹ ti bí pé mo sọ nǹkan di ọ̀dẹ́ bí mo sọ́dọ̀ ra yàn léyìn lórí. Olówó ọ̀gbọ́dọ̀ torí pọ́ọ̀lù lówó kókó wọn máa bọ́ ọ̀yà bọ́ bá bọ́ ọ̀yà Ọlọ́run ní gbà á. Ẹni wọ́n ní ọbọ̀ ọ̀yà ọ̀tọ̀. Ẹni àárẹ̀ ń ṣe ni a ní ọbọ̀ ọ̀yà. Ẹni tí ò lè jẹ̀kọ́ kan tá má ní ìsìn tí ó bóyá ọ̀hún kò tiẹ̀ lọ lẹ́nu ẹ̀ má àwọn ló lè máa bọ́ ọ̀yà.
Kò yé mi o.
Yìí wá ṣèwọ́tọ́ lágbára tálàáfíà wà lára rẹ lọ́wọ́ a sọ pé owó kúkú ń bẹ. Èèyàn mélòó lẹ fẹ́ kí n bọ́? Owó tó máa fi bọ́ wọn níbo ló ti rí? Ọlọ́run la'allakum tattaqun.
La'allakum tattaquna.
Allah.
La'allakum tattaqun.
Ọlọ́run wá láàwẹ̀ yìí bó ṣe rí yìí o. Ayyaman ma'duda.
Ayyaman ma'dudati.
Ó ló ń kà dé ẹgbàá 29 àbí kẹ́ ẹgbàá 30.
Ayyaman ma'duda.
Kì í sáwẹ̀ tá a kì í mọ́lẹ̀ tá a sọ pé à ń gbà àgbà biribiri àgbà biribiri àgbà kirikiti àgbà. Ọlọ́run ọ̀ràn léyìn o. Lẹ́yìn bó o bá fi àwẹ̀ ọjọ́ Àlàmísì àti ti Monday tó o bá fi rántí Ọlọ́run tó o fi ń tọrọ ọ̀dẹ̀ra fúnra ara rẹ láyé bó o bá kí àwẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ tó sọ pé wọ́n fẹ́ gbólóṣù mẹ́ta o fẹ́ gbólóṣù mẹ́rin olóṣù márùn-ún olóṣù mẹ́fà ìwọ́n kò sì lè torí ẹ̀ fún ọ ní tó ń béèrè.
Double portion.
Ayyaman ma'dudati.
Kò lè torí ẹ̀ fún ọ o torí pọ́lọ̀ kò ní kọ́ sọ́mà. Wàláì kò ní kọ́ sọ́mà. Kàkọ́kọ́ dọ́ Ọlọ́run máa pẹ́ lórí awọ máa pẹ́ lórí náfìlà wàláì Ọlọ́run gbogbo náà gbọ́n tó ń sọ. Ẹni tí sì ń sùn ní ọ̀dẹ́dẹ́ aago 8 àárọ̀ tí ó tún wá lọ fi orin hánu tí wọ́n máa wá képe ṣé ẹ jí dáadáa aláàjì àdáadáa kódà mo sọ ara mi náà kì í kásùn bá o ẹnìkan sì ti jí látago 3 òru ẹgbẹ́ ń bọ̀ yan náfìlà tá ń tún fa tẹ̀sùn bá ya sàtàrù ya sàtàrù ya sàtàrù ọlọ́run máa ní mọ̀ sàtàrà rẹ̀.
Àyà màdúdẹ́tì.
Ọlọ́ni ọjọ́ tó lóhùn kalẹ̀ gbọ́dọ̀ fi gbà á.
Bàbá kẹ́lẹ̀ mi kò márí dán àwọn aláṣàfàrí. Fàyídàtọ̀ mẹ́rin àyà mẹ́rin ọ̀pọ̀.
Ọlọ́ni ọjọ́ tó lóhùn kalẹ̀ fi gbà ó ẹni tó bá wá ń sàárẹ̀ nínú yín kọ́ fún àwẹ̀lẹ̀ iye tí ọba lè gbà kọ́ máa bọ́ tálíkà kan kọ́ máa bọ́ ẹ̀jẹ̀ kan yóò tọ̀ wọ́n yòó dáadáa.
Mo wà lórí program ẹ lè pè sí the other line ẹ pè sí the other line.
Ẹni tí ń sàárẹ̀ nìyí bára rẹ báyìí ti yá àwọn èyí tó ọmọ pé ẹni mọ bọ́ gan-an kò tiẹ̀ yá ni òṣòwò lọ́wọ́ mi mọ́ gbogbo èyí tó bá kù lẹ́hùn ọ̀yà lọ san padà. Àwọn
aláṣàfàrí fàyídàtọ̀ mẹ́rin àyà mẹ́rin ọ̀pọ̀.
Ọlọ́run ní farí ìdẹ́tún mẹ́rin àyà ìwọ tó wá jẹ́ pé ọ̀rọ̀ pé inú rún ọ́ ní kìí kan sí ọ́ ní nǹkan kan ní bá bí ló ṣe rún ọ́ ní tún lọ bí ló ṣe rún ọ́ ní tún lọ èyí tó ọba ti lè gbà ọ́ dá padà ọba sì wà ní kéésì ní àjò Ìbàdàn ó síjẹ̀bú kéésì ní àjò Èkó síjẹ̀bú ó kódà kéésì ní àjò Kánò ó síjẹ̀bú ó torí ń gbọ́ Ọlọ́run bá sọ pé àwọn tó bá rìnrìn àjò ẹni tó rìnrìn àjò tí ọmọ ìgbà wo lórí lè débi òun ń lọ òun la ní kó dín àwẹ̀ tí ó sì mànà ọmọ bí ìlú bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe rí ọmọ tó lè ríra jẹ lọ́hùn kò tún wá mọ iye aago tó ń wọ́n sọ̀kalẹ̀ lọ́hùn àwọn oníyẹn nìkan àwọn ni a lè máa dá àwẹ̀ padà.
Yá ayọ̀ lẹ́bí náà àmàlú.
Masha Allah.
Mo ti ju link sí yín.
Látàárọ̀.
Kọ́mẹ̀ntì kẹ̀. No. Kò lè wọlé tẹ́ báyìí sí i.
Àyà kan bẹ táwọn ìmáàmù máa ń kà fún wa níjọ́ mẹ́jọ wọn ní iná ńlá ayé àmúrú ń bẹ̀rẹ̀ àdì.
Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli.
Ìyẹn láwọ̀ ẹ má bínú ẹ̀ bí.
Wal ihsani.
Ẹ̀sìn dáadáa fẹ́ni tó ń bú yín.
Wa ita'i dhil qurba.
Aládùúgbò yẹn jẹ́ wọ́n mọ̀ yín sí dáadáa.
Ó ṣe dáadáa fún tó ń bú yín.
Ẹ sì kúrò bí ìwà àbàjẹ́. Èyí bẹ́ẹ̀mí kọ̀ tí ò ní fẹ́ má fi lọ́mọ nìkejì. Tẹ̀m̀bẹ̀lẹ̀kún ọ̀tẹ̀. Àwọn akẹfẹ̀rí Mákà lásìkò ànábì wa Muhammad.
Dáadáa sí ẹni tó.
Bára wọn sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n wá fi etí kóra wọn lé wọ́n fẹnu kóra wọn létí. Ànábì wa lẹ́rù ń bá wọn. Ọlọ́run wa ànábì kíní ń bọ̀ lẹ́rù ni wọ́n máa ń tí wọ́n ń sọ. Wọ́n máa jẹ́ pé wọ́n dà lúrú ni Ọlọ́run wọn ò lè dà lúrú. Mo lè dà lúrú. Wọ́n rẹ̀ Jibril lọ rí fún láyà ikú òbí bá nàbí sọ.
Wa asirru qawlakum aw ijharu bihi.
Innahu alimun bi zati sudur. Jalla ma la yamut.
Wa asirru qawlakum aw ijharu bihi. Innahu alimun bi zati sudur.
Ọlọ́run lébi Ọlọ́run mọ máa ń tó wà nígbà ayé àwọn tó wọlé ìtàn gbẹ́nu síra wọn létí ó yé mi kedere. Gbogbo ẹ̀ ní mọ́mà wọn ò rí ibi kankan sá pamọ́ sí.
Alimun bi zati sudur.
Tó ń bẹ nínú gbáyà àwọn èmi Ọlọ́run rí náà rí.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar kabir.
Wọlé Ọlọ́run mi rọ ọkàn rẹ.
Ọlọ́run ní ẹ̀jìnà sí
ẹni kò gbọ́ bàtẹ́ Ọlọ́run mi rọ ọkàn.
Ẹ má fi lọ́mọ ẹnì kejì. Ẹ sì jìnà sí wà bàjẹ́ má pè ìyàwó oníyàwó torí ní a bá pe tiẹ̀ náà inú ọmọ bí ọ̀hún ní gbà.
Kó lè gbà má fi lọ lòmí.
Ànábì wa Muhammad wọ́n ní kullu aduwwu nafsina wa aduwwu al-farji la nafsina. Gbogbo ọ̀tá ní ọ̀tá. Ọ̀tá akólé ẹni, agbásẹ́lú ẹni, abanilókọjẹ́. Gbogbo ọ̀tá wọ̀nyẹn ní ọ̀tá bá bá jókòó tá a bá parí ẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n aduwwu al-farji. Ọ̀tá tí abẹ́ bá dálẹ̀ kò ní parí tó fi lọ́gbà ìyá. Ìwà àbàjẹ́ ò gbọdọ̀ sí lọ́wọ́ rẹ. Bàbá.
Wọ́n ní ìwà tí abẹ́ bá já sílẹ̀. Mr. Rob ṣe gbọ́. Mr. Junadu. Kòlábòríjì. Ìjà tí abẹ́. Abẹ́ gbọ́.
Ẹlẹ́rìí méje lélẹ́yìí. Ẹlẹ́rìí wọ́n márùn-ún náà máa ka ẹ̀mí rẹ̀.
Ẹ ṣọ́ra ẹwẹ́ ń tẹ́ máa ṣàyàdé wípé gbogbo ẹran náà ń jẹ jíjẹ wọ́n.
Ọkà wùwà òfò lásán oṣù ṣòfò nú ẹ̀. Ìwà àbàjẹ́ ìṣe ìbàjẹ́ ìsọ ọ̀bàjẹ́ kò lọ sí lọ́wọ́
lọ́mọ fọ́ba fọ́sùn.
Gbogbo ntẹ́mi sì pọ̀ má fi lọ́mọ nìkejì.
Jẹ́ kọ́ mọ́ bàbá ẹ̀ gangan.
O sì fẹ́ràn Yorùbá. Yorùbá èèyàn bú yìí. Èèyàn bú Yorùbá. Ta ni lórílẹ̀-èdè irú àwa Yorùbá ni.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni bàbá mi.
Àwa nìkan la ní ọgbọ́n àrékérekè. Ká sọ̀rọ̀ ànádò mi ìjojúmọ́ tó mọ́. Yorùbá sì fẹ́ràn máa jó lọ.
Mò ń wẹ̀ nìyẹn. Ìgbòho máa jó lọ mò ń wẹ̀ nìyẹn. Ọ̀fẹ́ kọ́mọlọ́mọ bọ́ níbi tó ti ń ju kìíní sílẹ̀ sùn. Òun nìkan ló wà láyé fún yín. Òun nìkan ló wà láyé fún yín.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká fẹ́ràn ara wa. Election tá a ṣe lọ yìí wàláhí tálà àti di aláàbò.
Ọ̀fẹ́ kó bọ́ nù bí tó ti ń sùn sórí footmat.
Lójú Awúsá láyé láyé.
Wọ́n ní kó má ṣe kinní kan.
Bí àṣà Yorùbá wọn àwọn ẹ̀dá ń bá sẹ́dá wò sí wọn yìí. Àwọn mára kúnyà. Àwọn mára áńkẹ̀lì.
Ọlọ́mọ ní ìyá ní bá ní
bí àṣà Yorùbá ti àṣẹ wọn
bàbá
kàwé ní
gbowó
ìwé
rẹ̀.
láyé wọn tí wọn lọ́gbọ́n lórí.
Advice tí bàbá yìí bá fọ́lóyè Ìgbòho ló máa tẹ̀lé.
Wọ́n fẹ́ràn ọmọ ìyá wọn.
Bàbá dẹ̀ ń ṣe.
Ọmọ ìyá wọn àwa bá wọn gbé jẹjẹjẹjẹ lọ́dọ̀ ọmọ wọn sì jẹ́ mọ́lẹ̀. Ẹ̀rí bí abọ́rọ̀ ara wa dé. Bàbá wa ṣèjọba náà kọ́ ní ìsìn o. Àfi ká jọ mú inú ra wa. Àdúrà kan wà tá a gbàgbé ńgbà tá a gbé Buhari sáàyè. Ṣé bàbá la fi gbé wọlé?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Àwa rántí ká ṣàdúrà pé gbogbo ẹni tí ọba bá Buhari ṣèjọba.
Kó jẹ́ olórí ire kó má jẹ́ olórí ibú onírọ́ gbogbo.
Àrántí ṣàdúrà náà. Wọ́n ṣàjẹ́ pírẹ́sídẹ̀ntì.
Gbàtí Jonathan ti sú wa.
Gbogbo ẹni tí ọba bá ṣèjọba, Ọlọ́run kó ṣe wọ́n lé yàn.
Àmọ́ kó máa wọ́ọ̀sì tó yìí. Àwọn onímọ̀ polongo wọn lórí show nígbà.
Ó lé wọn kúrò lásò rọ̀ọ̀kì. Tọ́lá wọn ò ní sẹ́. Wọn ò ní sẹ́ńtì àjókòó tì nù. Gbogbo ọ̀nà wo la fẹ́ fi ṣèjọba? Ànábì wa Muhammad. Ó náà ṣèjọba. Ànábì ṣe jẹ́ pírẹ́sídẹ̀ntì orílẹ̀-èdè rẹ̀. Kí ló fi tọ́lọ̀ fún Ànábì Muhammad? Ẹ yóò bá Ànábì kí n gbọ́. Ẹ pariwo Ànábì sókè. Owó rẹ̀ tó kò fojú wọ́ sí Ànábì báyìí. Ànábì ṣèjọba bá a bá ti lè dúró lórí ẹ̀, á rí ìjọba wa ṣe. Ìjọba tí ó sì túra ni. Ṣùgbọ́n láì jẹ́ pé àtẹ̀tẹ̀ ìdílé tọ́lọ́run àti tàbí Muhammad. Níbi à ń lọ o. Níbi à ń lọ. Ewu Nàìjíríà ń gbà ti bẹ̀rẹ̀. Gbogbo bá a ṣe ń jù sókè ní pẹlẹbẹ náà ní bá wáyé. Àti ẹ̀rọ lóòótọ́ kankan.
Iná láti ẹjọ́ yìí tó stable.
Iná ẹ̀rà ni.
Gbogbo àwọn ọmọ náà bí pátá gbogbo náà ti máa slogan off Nipa. Off Nipa ní gbogbo ìgbà.
Báwo la ti fẹ́ ṣèjọba yìí tí ó fi rọ̀ wá lọ́rùn? Ọlọ́run ti gbé fún Ànábì Muhammad. Ọlọ́run ní wà nábì ìjọba ni mo gbé ní ọlọ́wọ́ ìwọ ni pírẹ́sídẹ́ǹtì orílẹ̀-èdè rẹ̀.
Máa lè comment wọ́n ti sọ fún mi láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ wá mi mọ́ mi lè padà lọ síbẹ̀. Ẹ máa dúró lẹ́yìn 20 minutes lè máa lè comment tó bá wà tó bá ẹ̀pẹ́ subscribe wọ́n ní after 20 minutes lè máa lè comment tẹ wà lórí show. Wọ́n ti complain.
Fọlílá.
All right.
Mo fẹ́ kẹ́yìn jẹ́ máa kẹ́ fara balẹ̀. Nígbà bá sọ bí ẹ jẹ́ kó wà recorded fún àǹfààní àwọn tó fẹ́ ṣèjọba. Sayyidina Umar ó ṣe ìjọba lẹ́yìn tó gbé ní gbogbo ìjọba àwọn sàhábà ní Muhammad. Ṣé etí tí ẹ dàbí ti Sayyidina Umar? Sayyidina Umar bó ṣe kàǹkà tó yóò ní ọ̀gànjọ́ òru. Iṣẹ́ tó bá gbé fáwọn aráàlú, iṣẹ́ tó bá gbé fáwọn òṣèré nílùú pé ẹtún bí báyìí ṣe, ẹtún bí báyìí láàárín òru ọ̀gànjọ́ òru yóò wà ní mọ́tò tí ó lọ wo gbogbo ẹ̀. Ẹsẹ̀ sì làwọn fi ń rìn gbà náà.
Quran chapter 59 verse 7. Suratul Asr.
Suratul Asr. Ẹtún bá ń pè lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí.
Quran 59.
59 verse 7 rẹ̀. Ma afa Allahu ala rasulihi min ahlil qura.
Ma afa Allahu ala rasulihi min ahlil qura.
Falillah.
Falillahi.
Walirrasuli.
Walirrasuli.
Allahu akbar.
Walidhil qurba wal yatama.
Masha Allah.
Wal masakin.
Allah.
وابن السبيل
Allah.
كي لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم.
Wàláyé bá a bá tẹ̀lé ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run tí Al-Qur'ani gbé kalẹ̀ wàláyé á jẹ ìyà láàbùkù. Bàbá ìlú àwa Yorùbá yìí tá a lágídí ìyà.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ dẹ̀ ni.
Tá a lágídí ọmọ náà. Èyí dé. Àwa nìkan ni.
Kò yé mi.
Àyè gba lọ́rọ̀dọ̀ wa ń bí báyìí.
Ó pọ̀ jù, irọ́ pọ̀ jù.
Lẹ́yìn ẹ̀sìn Islam kò sí ẹ̀sìn míì mọ́.
Mi ò mọ̀ ń pa yẹn.
Inna dina. Ọlọ́run lẹ́sìn tí mo àpúrúfù tí mo pè lẹ́sìn tó jẹ́ pé mi ni mo dá fúnra ara mi. Ìsìláàmù ni man yabtaghi ghayra al-islami dinan falan yuqbala minhu wa huwa fil akhirah. Ọlọ́run lẹ́yìn ọba lọ sí ẹ̀sìn míì lẹ́yìn ẹ̀sìn tí mo fún Ànábì Muhammad, lẹ́yìn ẹ̀sìn tí mo fún Ànábì Ibrahim, lẹ́yìn ẹ̀sìn tí mo fún Musa, lẹ́yìn ẹ̀sìn tí mo fún Isa. Mo wá padà wá gbélé Ànábì Muhammad lọ́wọ́. Ọlọ́run ní láyé òfin bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó bá ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ní ìtọ́ yàtọ̀ sí mo ní ìgbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀. Kò ní gbẹ̀sìn lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ wá wá sílẹ̀. Àkérà. Bọ́bá sì dọ́jú àìsíámà yóò ṣòfò. Torí gbogbo tó gbé látàyè wò ní ìgbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀.
Èmi ò mọ bàbá ta ló lọ sọ́run tó dé o.
Àfẹ́ràn ara wọn.
Mi ò mọ.
Àfẹ́ràn ara wọn. Ẹ̀sìn wo lẹ́nu wá fẹ́ gbèrè ní? Sẹ́sìn táwọn ẹnìkan wà ń bẹ̀ jẹ́ ń sọ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fẹ́ dìbò ẹ dìbò fún ilé Ọlọ́run àwọn yìí ni. Fún òsì nílé Ọlọ́run. Ọ́ọ̀lù ni wọ́n ní. Kò sí ti jẹ́lé Ọlọ́run.
Ó ní Olúwa sọ yí pé ẹlẹ́sàn ọ̀dùn wáyé.
Ẹ̀dà jàmá ọ wáyé àbí ọ̀wáyé.
Ètò ìsọ pé tí ò bá tí ẹyọ.
Ó sì níbi Tinubu bá wọlé. Ó lòun kò ní babaláwo. Ẹ wá dákun níbi ètò wà èwo ló fi yàtọ̀ sí babaláwo. Ma afa Allahu ala rasulihi min ahlil qura. Falillah. Masha Allah. Chairman local government you are Ajokeade Dikiru Lai. Ẹ máa gbọ́ ń tọ́lọ́ wí o. Bí ẹ ti tó nù o. Deputy governor. Ẹ̀mí yín ogun bí ẹ ti tó nù o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bá tó bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹ rí pé ni wọ́n bá tún dé. Ojú ẹsẹ̀ yín òun náà ń gbé ọba jẹ́ pé ìlú farabalẹ̀. Ara tutù. Ẹsẹ̀ tẹ́yìn bá gbé iná làwọn èèyàn máa tẹ̀lé.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni.
Ọlọ́ni máa fa Allahu wa la rasulihi min ahlil Qur'an. Falillah. Ọlọ́ni wà ní Muhammad.
Sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Gbogbo tí bá jẹ́ minerals resources tí ń bẹ ní orílẹ̀-èdè rẹ̀. Falillah. Gbogbo ọrọ̀ ajé tí ń bẹ lórílẹ̀-èdè rẹ̀ tẹ́ ẹ lè mú sowó tẹ́ ẹ fi lè gbádùn. Tẹ́ ẹ máa jẹ, tẹ́ ẹ máa mu, tẹ́ ẹ máa gbádùn, tẹ́ ẹ lálàáfíà. Tí ń bẹ lórílẹ̀-èdè rẹ̀.
Akànnì, kí ló ń jù? Kí ló ń jù? Mi ò rí ẹ lórí bíbá yìí. Kí ló ń jù Akànnì? Ọ̀rọ̀ tí bàbá wa ń sọ yìí, ìṣítí ló jẹ́. Ẹ gbọ́ nǹkan tí wọ́n sọ nípa bàbá wa, ọba wa ti Ìjẹ̀bú Òde, tí gbogbo wa náà dẹ̀ ti gbọ́ tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ wípé nínú gbogbo ọba ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, wọ́n pẹ̀lú àwọn tó dá gánjíá nínú wọn. Ẹ wo ìgbà tí bàbá ti wà lórí oyè, bàbá máa 90 àbí? Wọ́n máa 90 pẹ̀lú ògo Ọlọ́run ní oṣù tó ń bọ̀. A tún mú nípa wọn wá, àwa sọ̀rọ̀ nípa wọn. Ẹ wo ìgbà tí bàbá ti wà lórí oyè o, àtìgbà tó ti wà ní ọmọ ọdún mẹ́rìndínlọ́gbọ̀n 26 ni bàbá Awujale, kábíyèsí o. Mo fi tọ̀wọ̀tọ̀wọ̀ dárúkọ yín, orúkọ la fi ń pọmọ aládé. May 10, 1934 ni wọ́n bí bàbá. Mo rántí ìgbà tí wọ́n sọ wípé bàbá padà lọ sílé ìwé ńgbà yẹn. Ìgbà tí mo gbọ́, mo ní kí lèmi náà dúró ṣe. Bẹ́mi náà ṣe gbéra nìyẹn tí mo gba uni lọ. Ibẹ̀ lẹ ti máa ráwọn kan ṣẹ́rí ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi, ẹ jẹ́ n sọ nǹkan kan fún yín. Ṣẹ́rí àwọn èèyàn tí èèyàn bá wà ní àyíká ẹ̀, ó máa ń determine irú thinking àti ìhùwàsí àti whatever téèyàn bá ń ṣe. Ìyẹn ló ṣe jẹ́ pé kéèyàn máa wo àwọn èèyàn téèyàn máa wà láàárín wọn. Because tó bá ti jẹ́ ẹni tó jẹ́ pé tẹ bá pè báyìí, negative something ló máa sọ fún yín ní gbogbo ìgbà tí ò ní encourage yín. Ẹ̀yin ìyá mi, bàbá mi, ẹ fà sẹ́yìn. Tí ò bá ti sí ọ̀rọ̀ ìtùnú, ọ̀rọ̀ pé bá ṣe máa ṣe rere, bá ṣe máa ṣe dáadáa. Èèyàn mi, mo rí nǹkan báyìí, ọ̀nà wà níbí báyìí, ọ̀nà wà níbí báyìí, jẹ́ a gbà báyìí, jẹ́ a ṣe báyìí. Tó bá jẹ́ pé máa sọ, adàgbàjárà òfu ilé ìwé wo lẹ ti ń lọ, kí lẹ fi ṣe kinní kan, igbá kan, kí lẹ máa fi ṣe éèjì yín. Irú ìmọ̀ ò pín síbì kan. Ẹ yà fúnrú àwọn èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn. Kò sí ní tẹ máa gain lọ́wọ́ wọn. Ẹ rí wípé ìgbà tẹ́ bá ti pè wọ́n nínú ohun tó jẹ́ pé kẹ́yìn tiẹ̀ tó sọ̀rọ̀, àbí tẹ́ bá ti ń sọ negative. Wọn kì í wà positive. Irú àwọn èèyàn yẹn, ẹ tàndá, kì í ṣe tìjà. àbọ̀ èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé ìbànújẹ́ tán bá gbọ́ níbì kan ṣáá ní gbogbo ìgbà náà máa fẹ́ wá gbé fún yín ẹni kan pò kan gbé mu fúnra wọn. tán ò bá ti rí nǹkan tó dáa tẹ́ ń ṣe ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi bí mo ṣe sọ ẹ̀yin ìyá mi bàbá mi tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá mọ nǹkan tí ẹ máa fowó ṣe tẹ́ ẹ̀ ń kó láwọn èèyàn lọ́wọ́ tó ń ṣe jákujàku játijàti nísìnyí ẹ rìn mọ́ wọn tó máa encourage yín tí kì í ṣe pé ẹ máa kó lé wọn lọ́wọ́ tẹ́ máa fojú yín rí nǹkan yẹn tẹ́ dẹ̀ máa ṣe tó máa improve life yín. Éèjì ò sọ wípé èèyàn ò lè tún ṣe dáadáa láyé mọ́ àbí pé mo ti wà ibi tí mo wà yìí náà ṣe mọ̀ ní contented pé yes already àwọn ò níbi táwọn ń lọ mọ́ kí ni mo tún fẹ́. èèyàn ò dé ta ń bẹ̀ yẹn ni ò mọ̀ pé nǹkan wà ń bẹ̀. téèyàn bá gbéra ẹ̀ sọ tó gbéra ẹ̀ dìde tó bọ́ síta wàá mọ̀ wípé olúwa kúrò nídìí rìnkìnṣìnkìn. tẹ́ bá bá ẹni olóríire rìn á kóríire wọ̀nyàn. tẹ́ bá tún bá ìdàkejì ẹ̀yin náà máa thinking yín máa wò ó pé nǹkan tó dáa náà ń ṣe ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ nímọ̀ pé nǹkan tí ò dáa ni. ẹ̀yin ẹ wo ìrìn àjò yìí mo yìí ń tẹnu mọ́ èpè èébú nígbà tá ẹlòmíì náà tún join pé kínní ipasẹ̀ yẹn náà ni tá a mọ̀ pé kì í ṣe ohun tó tọ́. But thank God oníkálùkù ti rí i pé yes níbo ni ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ yẹn ló gbé wa dé. ẹ wo ohun tí bàbá Muyideen tán sọ kì í ṣèní àtúntẹ̀síwájú wọ́n sọ ọ́ débi wípé but wọ́n sọ ṣókí nínú ẹ̀ wọ́n ní Yorùbá burú wọ́n sọ àwọn èdè kan wọ́n ní aburú ni ènìyàn làwọn Yorùbá ṣùgbọ́n tẹ́ bá máa gbọ́ lẹ́nu àwọn ẹlẹ́tàn wọ́n ní ta ló sọ pé Yorùbá ò dáa ta ló sọ pé kinní kan á dáa ṣé wọ́n máa pọ́nra wọn lé lórí irọ́ wọn ò ní yọ ìpín lójú kan fi wọn ojú pé yes ohun tẹ́ ń ṣe yìí ò dáa wọ́n máa jẹ́ kẹ́ máa sọ gọ́gọ́ tẹ̀lé ohun tí ò dáa yẹn. ẹni bá dẹ̀ sọ wọn á rí léèyàn burúkú. ẹ jẹ́ ká bára wa sọ òótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀. now èmi mọ̀ dájúdájú wípé Ìgbòho máa gbọ́ràn sí bàbá ẹ̀ lẹ́nu. ta ni bàbá Ìgbòho? bàbá SheikM.Ajani Muyideen Bello tí mo fi tọ̀wọ̀tọ̀wọ̀ dárúkọ wọn ń tán bá sọ Ìgbòho máa tẹ̀lé. torí pé kíni ẹ lè dá ẹni ẹlẹ́ni jókòó síbẹ̀ yẹn láti yẹ ọdún yìí kẹ́ni kó má wá ọ̀nà láti padà wá sílùú ẹ̀. ìkà ni yín ìkà ni yín. Ìgbòho nìkan kọ́ ló wà láyé òun nìkan kọ́ ló máa rìnrìn àjò yìí. ẹni tí ò bá fẹ́ tínú bá ń bí wípé Ìgbòho sọ wípé tán bá gbé fún Yorùbá òun máa wá Ìgbòho ti sọ ibi tó ń lọ fún yín. Ìgbòho ti sọ ibi tó ń lọ fún yín. ẹni ẹlẹ́ni níyàwó ó yìí níyà Ọlọ́run kó bá mi lọ́ra ẹ̀mí ìyá wọn bó wá ti ṣe hùn kí ìyá Ìgbòho pẹ́ tó láyé pẹ̀lú bọ́n ṣe gbé lọ síbi tí Gúnmi lọ tó fi wọn gbogbo aráyé ìmẹ́ni tó bẹ̀ wọ́n níṣẹ́ àwọn mìsújàmbá. ìyá yẹn máa jèrè ọmọ tèmi náà ṣe máa jèrè tèmi àti gbogbo olólùfẹ́ mi tó ń gbọ́ mi àtẹni tó tún máa gbọ́. Ìgbòho máa padà wá sí Nàìjíríà ó máa ṣe gbogbo ọ̀nà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó máa ṣe gbogbo ọ̀nà láti padà wá ó máa darapọ̀ mọ́ ohun tó bá rí pé ó tọ́ ohun tí bàbá ẹ̀ bá sọ fún bàbá Ìgbòho nìyí. ẹ gbọ́ nínú àṣírí Ìgbòho tí mo sọ àwọn tí ò bá gbọ́ délẹ̀ tán kàn gbọ́ ẹlòmíì ò ní gbọ́ nǹkan délẹ̀ wọ́n kàn rí kinní tán kọ́ á dẹ̀ máa búyàn wọ́n máa kọ́ sí ẹkú mèmí tẹ́lẹ̀ tó bá gbọ́ délẹ̀ tó kàn ṣá jump into conclusion máa ṣá ìdànù ni quality not quantity. Fún ohun tí Ìgbòho ṣe yẹn láyé lèmi Àjọkẹ́ máa tẹ̀lé Ìgbòho. Tí Ìgbòho bá lóhun ò ṣe mọ́ òun tẹ̀lé ọmọ Yorùbá ẹ gbọ́ bàbá ó ní Yorùbá ò dáa aburú yín pọ̀ tẹ́ kò tó lẹ̀ máa jó lọ. Tí Ìgbòho bá lóhun ò ṣe mọ́ ẹ̀yin náà ẹ bọ́ta kẹ́ ṣe náà àbẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́n tí bàbá ẹ̀ sọ ẹ̀yin náà ẹ bọ́ta. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bàbá mi Rob ayé yín á dáa tí yín ò ní bàjẹ́. Èmi náà kọ́kọ́ ṣe bákan nígbà mo ń gbọ́ plan B nígbà mo wá gbórí mi kalẹ̀ tí mo ṣẹ́rí my people please ẹ má jẹ́ ká má ṣe sọ̀gúsọ̀gú tẹ̀lé àwọn kan tó jẹ́ wípé kò tiẹ̀ yẹ kó jẹ́ ọ̀nà ló yẹ ká bá níwájú ìrìn àjò yìí. Ẹ ṣe ká máa wá ìmọ̀ kún ìmọ̀ ká lọ máa gbọ́ àwọn nǹkan míì ká lọ máa gbọ́ àwọn ẹlòmíì dìmọ́ tó bá jẹ́ pé àwọn tá pè ní sọ̀rọ̀sọ̀rọ̀ tó jẹ́ eléèbú elépè nìkan la máa ń lọ wo ṣóò wọn ìtẹ̀síwájú ò lè dé báyàn. Ẹ wo kíní tí mo kọ́kọ́ play nípa bàbá SoNipa professor ẹlòmíì akọ́ngbọ́ dé ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ kò ní gbọ́ tán àbọ́kọ̀ àbí n tán bá fẹ́ pick nínú ẹ̀ náà máa pick which is tí wọ́n fẹ́ change rárá one way yẹn ṣá ni. Ẹ wo ohun tí bàbá yẹn sọ èní ni mo gbọ́ lẹ́nu ibi tí mo ti mi tiẹ̀ tí ì gbọ́ wọn délẹ̀ but nígbà tí mò ń play ẹ̀ lénìí nísìnyí ni mo gbọ́ wípé bàbá yẹn náà ó fẹ́ ṣòṣèlú wọ́n gbé gbá ìbò wípé bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ ni ò jẹ́ tí mi ìbá lọ gbọ́ yẹn mi nímọ̀ yẹn láéláé mo lè má gbọ́ tí máa fi kú. Ẹ jẹ́ ká máa wá ìmọ̀ kún ìmọ̀ ká má kàn jókòó sórí rọ̀bọ̀rẹ́ ibẹ̀ ràbà ká wá ìmọ̀ kún ìmọ̀ ká má máa jókòó sórí irọ́. Ohun tí ò ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́dún mélòó ká máa ló máa ṣẹlẹ̀ ní kíákíá ká sọ nǹkan ká má lè apologize. Ta ló dàgbà jù láti pé àwọn tí mo sọ yẹn kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ o lóòótọ́ wọn fàgbàrá ọmọdé jẹ but at the same time ẹ jẹ́ ká sòótọ́ fúnra wa náà à ń sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ká kú bẹ́ẹ̀ ni kò sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ ọ́ ṣe tán right kò sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ ọ́ ṣe tán but àìmọye èèyàn tó jẹ́ pé ó ṣàárẹ̀ lórí ìrìn àjò yìí àìmọye èèyàn tán lẹ́mìí ẹ̀ bá lọ èmi o I don't know but tó bá jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ má kàn máa raise hope àwọn èèyàn for nothing. Ẹ jẹ́ ká bára wa sòótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ a tún máa fẹ́ sìn a máa fi kóra wa lọ́bẹ̀ jẹ. Kí ni àǹfààní àwọn ẹlẹ́sìn tá à ń tẹ̀lé tá dẹ̀ rí pé ẹ̀yin ẹ worú bàbá Oyèdépò tán gbé yẹn ẹ lọ ka kíní wọn ẹ type ẹ̀ wọ́n ṣe ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ẹ mú kéèsì yẹn ẹ gba sábẹ́ kíní àbí kẹ́ bá wọn purọ́ ẹ̀mí bá stock exchange yìí lọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ta ilé ẹ̀ nígbà yẹn tán rush 2007 àbí kíní kan àbí and so on and so forth tọkọwó sínú ẹ̀ ẹ̀yin kan àtàwọn ẹbí yín ẹ wálé ẹ̀ ń yá àìmọye tó yá owó báǹkì tí ò san padà lówó ẹ̀ tún wá sọ pé àwọn tó wó wọn wà níbẹ̀ bóyá wọn ò débẹ̀ mọ́ ni ẹlẹ́ẹ̀ tún fẹ́ yá ẹ ṣe greedy bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn náà ẹ jẹ́ kó nílùú yìí tí owó èèyàn bá wà tí ẹni yẹn kú àbí kò ṣe kinní kan wọ́n máa ṣe tree tó jẹ́ pé wọ́n máa fi wá ẹbí ẹ̀kàn tó máa kó fún. Kí ló ṣe yín náà? Kí gbogbo ẹ̀ ṣáà ti jẹ́ ti yín mì. Ẹ wo ayé ìgbà kan ní airport yẹn, tẹ́ bá máa kọjá. Àwọn customs yẹn, àwọn aráàlú yẹn lẹ máa bá níbẹ̀. Wọ́n máa to table yẹn báyìí ni. Wọ́n á ní ṣo gbóúnjẹ, wọ́n máa to. Ẹni tó máa gbowó ọ̀tọ̀, wọ́n máa pass ẹ̀ báyìí síra wọn ni. Àìmọye customs tó nísìnyí tó yẹ pé tẹ́ bá wò ìgbésí ayé wọn pẹ̀lú gbogbo ìrìn àjò wọn àtòògùn àti gbogbo ẹ̀ tán ṣe, níbo náà wà ńsìn? Ohun tó wù wọ́n lọ́kàn wọn Ọlọ́run ò jẹ́ ọ́n rí. Example bíi ti kí náà ti ń pè Àtíkù. Ẹ̀ ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ mú jẹ, ẹ̀ ń ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ mú jẹ. Ṣé a fẹ́ sọ pé irú bàbá Wọlé Ṣóyínká yìí kò lè jẹ́ president ni? Tell me of Nigeria. Irú àwọn kíni dancer akọrin bọ̀bọ́ yìí tó máa to káà lọ, tá tún máa fi ṣe show off orí burúkú. Á to bàtà jọ, wọ́n á to oríṣiríṣi jọ, ẹ tún wò ó. Ẹ yà mí tìkatìka, á máa kọrin kiri. Wèrè la kà yín kún. Tẹ́ bá lérò pé ẹ̀ ń show off, wèrè la kà yín kún. Because oúnjẹ tó yẹ fún gbogbo èèyàn, ẹ̀yin nìkan dáko. Ẹ̀ ń show off mọ́tò, ẹ̀ ń tò wọ́n ságbàlá. Ìmíì tún máa jẹrà mọ́bẹ̀, kì í ṣe pé ẹ̀ ń tà wọ́n. Ṣé orí yín pé ṣá? Ìyà ń jẹ àwọn èèyàn, mẹ̀kúnnù ò róúnjẹ jẹ. Emefiele, ẹ fi ebi pààyàn. Wọ́n kówó sákàùntì èèyàn rí gbà jáde. Ẹ wá lọ ń kó owó rírùn kan tún padà máa ná. Ọlọ́run á yí àyípadà nǹkan dáadáa tẹ́ yí padà sí búburú, bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́lọ́run máa yí padà fún yín. Ẹ̀mí aláboyún ó bọ́ sírìn àjò yìí, ṣé fẹ́ jí wọn padà ni? Ẹ ṣe ń hùwà bí wèrè náà nílùú yẹn. Tí wọ́n bá gbé òfin kan dé àbí wọ́n ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ra nǹkan tuntun níbí báyìí, àwa la máa kọ́kọ́ sáré wá ta máa wá rà. Show off la máa lò ju bó ní nǹkan gan ṣe ń lo nǹkan ẹ̀ lọ. Wèrè ni yín, wèrè tẹ́ tó ọkọ̀ jọ. Ọkọ̀ tẹ́ ẹ gùn láàrin ọ̀sẹ̀ kan, ọ̀sẹ̀ méjì, oṣù kan, oṣù mélòó. Mo tún gbọ́ pé ńsìn wọ́n máa tún fún yín ní ẹ̀yin gómìnà tẹ́ ẹ̀ wọlé àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́. Wọ́n máa tún fún yín láwọn ọkọ̀ kan. Wàláì tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá tọ́jú aráàlú inú ọkọ̀ náà ló máa pa yín. Ẹ ń sọ wípé kí àwọn doctors kán má travel, kán má japa. Ìwọ Solomon àbí kí lorúkọ Johnson ó gbé. Ó dàbí pé ẹ ti lu ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì àbí bíìlì yẹn ti pass ẹ̀ lẹ́lẹ́ẹ̀kejì. Tí ẹ̀yin ẹ fira yín ṣírò tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá sí láàrin ìjọba tó ń ṣèjọba. Kẹ́yìn náà wà gẹ́gẹ́ bí àwọn students wọ̀nyẹn lára wọn. Kẹ́ wá ṣetán. Kẹ́ tiẹ̀ tó ṣetán kọ́ strike ńkọ́ pàápàá. N tó yẹ kẹ́ fi ọdún mélòó read. Wọ́n máa lo àìmọye ọdún, ẹ máa waste time àwọn ẹni ẹlẹ́ni kán tó kà á jáde. Nípa pé ẹ̀san ẹ̀ ń ṣẹ̀tọ́ fún àwọn olùkọ́ wọn tó ń kọ́ wọn. Wọ́n tún wá gèyè jáde lẹ́fẹ̀ẹ́ tie wọn down. Tán bá gbà fún yín, ó kù sí wọn lọ́wọ́ because tẹ́ bá jẹ́ pé ẹ sanwó lórí wọn tán fi lọ, tán fi jáde. Pátápátá ẹ ní owó yẹn kán dá padà. Owó tẹ́ fi rán wọn léèwé. Ẹ lè so wọ́n mọ́lẹ̀ kán má jáde, kán má rìn lọ. Because no basic amenities. hospital ibi tán environment kò wà conducive àbí kí ló lóyìnbó jẹ́ má jẹ́ fi rébọ jàre conducive láti stay. Ẹ dẹ̀ fẹ́ tie wọn down ọdún 5 pé kínní. Gbogbo ń tà ń sọ yìí ẹ tún ní subsidy ẹ fẹ́ yọ. Ṣé àwọn bí ilé epo tó bàjẹ́ refinery gbogbo tó bàjẹ́ yẹn ṣé ẹ ti tún ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe sórí burúkú tẹ́ pààrọ̀ owó tẹ́ fètò sílẹ̀ kẹ́ tó pààrọ̀ ẹ̀. Ìgbà tí Jonathan tó náà máa yọ èmi pẹ̀lú àwọn atajọ protest ní bíbáyìí. Níwájú embassy wa. Láti ìgbà yẹn lọ́hùn-ún ètò wo lẹ ṣe kí ni correction tẹ ṣe sí àtúnṣe wo láti rí tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ nú ẹ̀. Tẹ́lẹ̀ fẹ́ yọ subsidy is good but kí lẹ ṣe sílẹ̀? Ètò wo lẹ ṣe sílẹ̀ nígbà tẹ́ fẹ́ pààrọ̀ owó fáwọn èèyàn tẹ́ fìyà jẹ wọ́n torí inú ni bí ni èèyàn kan. Òun ló forin a máa dìbò ẹ bá pààrọ̀ ẹ̀ á máa wọlé. Ṣé kìí ṣe pé wèrè lẹ́yìn tẹ́ ń ṣíwájú wa yìí ló pọ̀ nú yín ni? Ẹ lọ sílùú bòmíì ẹ rí nǹkan tí wọ́n ń ṣe ẹ kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nínú ẹ̀ ẹ kẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nínú ẹ̀. Ẹ kàn máa gbé òfin kalẹ̀ ṣàwọn náà dẹ̀ ń gbà lọ́wọ́ yín. Johnson ṣé sọlẹ̀ náà ní o wà bí níní ló wà lórí wọn. Ẹ kàn wọlé ẹ máa páàsì nǹkan ẹ máa páàsì òfin ẹ fẹ́ yọ subsidy gbogbo tẹ́ tí ń ṣe náà nǹkan àárín ara yín kọ́ lẹ ti ń ná. Wọ́n á dẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ máa lé wọn kiri ẹ máa wádìí wọn ẹ máa lé wọn. Ṣẹ́lẹ̀dá ò ní dá fún yín tìrantìran yín. Ó ní àṣìírè ń kọ̀rọ̀ jọ kò mẹ́ni tó máa kó. Imagine kírú bàbá professor yìí sọ pé òun fẹ́ ṣòṣèlú. Kí bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ dẹ̀ dènà ẹ̀. Mi ì gbọ́ rí èní mo ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń gbọ́. Bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ ẹ ti bà nǹkan jẹ́ o. Ẹ ti bà nǹkan jẹ́ writer ẹ ti bà nǹkan jẹ́. Ìwé yín ò ń pẹ́ yín láti kọ. Torí ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan tán ni sí bíbáyìí àwọn oní kidney. Ẹ ṣe dáadáa o. Ẹ sọ̀rọ̀ mí nígbà mí á ní lóòótọ́ kán má dà yín pọ̀ mọ́ mi. Èyí tí mo gbọ́ lénìí ẹ ṣe dáadáa tó bá jẹ́ tòótọ́ lẹ́ẹ̀dí mo dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé bàbá yẹn ò ní purọ́. Professor Wọlé Ṣóyínká wọn ò ní purọ́. Ẹ dí wọn lọ́wọ́ ẹ ká wọn lọ́wọ́ kò. So complain wo lẹ̀ ń complain nípa àwọn tẹ́ wá kó síbẹ̀ tó ń ṣe bálabàla. Kí ló fa àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ ń sọ? Kí ló fa àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ ń kọ? Ẹ ṣe the right thing from the beginning. Ẹ dẹ̀ ń try láti correct àwọn èèyàn. Àjàlá tá ń nà. Ẹ̀yin náà kọ́ ni. Ẹ̀yin náà kọ́ ni. Ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Ọ̀nà àbáyọ. Torí bàbá mi kan send kìíní sí mi pé ó dáa kò burú. Kí ni ọ̀nà àbáyọ? Ọ̀nà àbáyọ wà lọ́wọ́ èmi àti ẹ̀yin. Kì í ṣe pé ká kàn jókòó sórí ìkíní ká máa ní kó Olóyè Ìgbòho kó lọ ṣe gbá kó lọ ṣàwo. Tó Olóyè Ìgbòho bá ti bàbá ẹ bá ti ní má ṣe Olóyè Ìgbòho tẹ̀lé tó bá máa tẹ̀lé. Ẹ̀yin lẹ mọ ìyà tó ń jẹ yín nínú ibi tó ń há yín mọ́ náà. Àwọn olórí kórí kan á túbọ̀ ta. Á ní ó gboyè kan nínú owó ó ṣe kinní kan. Ṣé ẹ̀yin wà nínú àhámọ́ tó ń wà yẹn ni? Àbí kí ló tiẹ̀ ń ṣe yín gan pàápàá? Ṣó tiẹ̀ worth láti ẹ̀ máa gbọ́ yín mọ́ pàápàá? Àbí kéèyàn fi àkókò ẹ̀ ṣe nǹkan tó dáa? Because ẹ mú nǹkan tó mórí pípé wá mọ́ ẹ f'Olóyè Ìgbòho lọ́rùn sílẹ̀. now ẹ jókòó sórí kinní ẹ ń pariwo ń bẹ̀. Ẹ máa gbé irọ́ wá fún wa ní gbogbo ìgbà, ẹ máa gbé irọ́ wá fún wa. Can you believe that? Ẹ lè believe pé irú bàbá Adéníran yẹn wà nínú ìrìn àjò jákujàku yìí. Ẹ kàn bà ilé ayé àwọn èèyàn jẹ́. Ẹ dá nǹkan sílẹ̀. Ẹ tó nǹkan ṣe. Inú ẹ̀ náà lẹ ti jẹ́ kán lọ kó àwọn ọmọ ọlọ́mọ ń sìn. Ẹ̀sùn tó fi kàn wọ́n yẹn ń sìn ẹ mọ ìdájọ́ ẹ̀ ni àfi k'Ọlọ́run kó wọn yọ. A dẹ̀ tún sọ́nà ẹ̀ tún rangan pa torí owó tẹ̀ ń gbà lórí ẹ̀. Kí ló ṣe wá ná? Òun nínú ṣe bí bàbá yìí. Máa jó lọ mò ń wẹ̀ yẹn. Ẹ má gbẹ́ kòtò orí burúkú tẹ máa fúnra yín kó sí fún olóyè Ìgbòho. Kò sí nǹkan tó jọ. Àwọn ó sọ pé olóyè Ìgbòho búra pé tóun bá gbowó lọ́wọ́ federal government kọ́ lọ́wọ́n ń sọ, àwọn ń sọ olóṣèlú. Ìbá gbowó lọ́wọ́ olóṣèlú ẹ kó ṣì sọ́hùn. Ṣé bẹ́yìn náà lẹ wà ń bẹ̀ ń tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sínú ilé ẹ̀ tẹ́ ń barẹ́ torí owó tán kó sílẹ̀ tí ò pín dọ́gba tí ò pín bó ṣe máa pín. Ẹ̀yin náà lẹ wà nídìí ẹ̀ náà tẹ́ kó bá. Àlọ́ ti lọ àbọ̀ ń bọ̀ á bá yín tìdílé yín gbogbo ẹni tó lọ́wọ́ nínú ìrìn àjò burúkú yẹn. Way forward ni wípé ẹni tó bá mọ̀nà nínú yín ẹ yọ̀ǹda olóyè Ìgbòho ẹ jẹ́ kó ṣe ìfẹ́ inú ẹ̀ àti ohun tí àwọn bàbá dáadáa bá sọ fún un. Ibi tí ẹ jókòó sínú ilé yín ẹ máa sọ wípé àfi ká gba Yorùbá nation àfi ká kí ni ohun tẹ́ ń ṣe kí ni tàbájáde ẹ náà ti gbowó. Ẹ náà ti gbowó. Ẹnu la rí lórí kinní. Tẹ́yìn bá mọ̀ pé ẹ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ gbọ́nà ọ̀hún lọ kẹléwájú ohun tó wà ńlẹ̀. Ẹ má gbẹ́kẹ̀lé olóyè Ìgbòho mọ́ o. Yes. Ẹ má gbẹ́kẹ̀lé. Ẹ má push ẹ̀. Ẹ má gbẹ́ kòtò sílẹ̀ fún kẹtẹ́ nílé lórí. Ẹ jẹ́ kó ṣèfẹ́nú ẹ̀ àti ohun tí bàbá ẹ̀ bá sọ fún un. Bàbá ẹ̀ ni bàbá Muyideen Bello. Ẹ gbọ́ lẹ́nu wọn pé bàbá wọn fà á lé wọn lọ́wọ́ ní. Àwọn la mọ̀ ní bàbá olóyè Ìgbòho. Kí ló ṣe wá ná? Kí ló ṣe wá? Ẹni tí ò bá ti ṣe báyìí ìjà dé nìyẹn máa bínú tán bá sòótọ́ ọ̀rọ̀ fún wọn. Ta ló wò yín? Ta ló rí yín? Quality not quantity. Kérò pọ̀kọ́ kí ránù bí kinní pélé èèyàn lórí kọ́ ni kinní ní kókó. Ẹ wádìí nǹkan kẹmú èyí tó ṣe gbòógì òtítọ́ dání. Olóyè Ìgbòho pé tẹ bá lè gbé fún Yorùbá ìgbà yẹn lẹ máa tó mọ̀ béèyàn sọ orú ẹ ti di Tinubu ni a mọ̀ pé Tinubu. So what? Ṣé kí n máa tẹ̀lé ohun tí mi rí ni? Máa rí fake. Káwọn èèyàn náà fẹ́ gba nǹkan kí n wá dákẹ́ torí inú ni bí ní ọ̀tẹ̀. Torí inú ni bí ní ọ̀tẹ̀. Kẹ́tì ẹ̀kan jókòó síbẹ̀ kẹ́ máa sọ nǹkan kan yẹn. Ẹ ní kí. Tẹ́ ẹ bá kí ń kọ́. Ọjọ́ Òyìnbó. Kò mọ̀ pé ẹnìkan wà. Tí nǹkan bá ṣẹlẹ̀ nílé gbàs nísìn. Mélòó nínú yín ló fẹ́ léwájú ẹ̀? Mélòó nínú yín ló fẹ́ léwájú ogun nílé? Ẹ máa jókòó síbí náà ni. Ordinary ìbò tán fẹ́ dì ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ẹ̀rù ń bà yín láti lọ lé máa jẹ́ kán dìbò tán kí gbá má ṣẹlẹ̀ káwo má ṣẹlẹ̀ kí kinní kan má ṣẹlẹ̀ àwọn aráàlú dàkejì dẹ̀ ń gbógun tì yín wọ́n fi yín sáàárín àwọn kan kọ́ńpléènì lọ́dọ̀ wọn lọ́hùn ẹgbọ́n tí bàbá wí wípé tí àwọn ará bíi bá sọ pé wọ́n wà lẹ́yìn èèyàn bóyá kò ì débẹ̀ ara wọn yẹn náà máa wà lẹ́yìn ẹ̀ tó bá dẹ̀ sọ náà máa mú ṣẹ ìyẹn ń ṣe ti Yorùbá tó bá ní good morning láti inú ilé wa wá ẹ bójú wo kẹkẹ àtètè ká kọ́tìn lórí irọ́ ni irọ́ ti pọ̀ jù irọ́ ti pọ̀ jù ìdí ìyẹn là á fẹ́ jókòó sí ẹ make use of your time kẹ́ fi ṣe nǹkan tó níláárí ẹ máa fi wádìí nǹkan mi yàtọ̀ sí pé èébú yẹ kúrò nídìí ẹ̀ kẹ́ wá kíní bá tún máa kán sí yẹn no going back kí a mọ̀ pé no going back kí a máa gbà ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀nà wo lẹ fi ń gbà ṣọ́nà ẹnu yìí náà ni ẹnu kẹ́ máa táṣìírí ara yín ìbàjẹ́ ẹni àmàǹtó lóye Ìgbòho bá gbà wàláì tàlà ìsúnmọ́bìlà àjẹmọ́nú ẹ̀ ni lóye Ìgbòho dẹ̀ ń bọ̀ padà ní Nàìjíríà ó dẹ̀ máa ṣètò òṣèlú ẹ gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹni bá máa kí ló máa kí ẹni tí ò ní kí kó filẹ̀ ṣe bọ́kùnrin lẹ́yìn náà ẹ lè léwájú ogun náà àbí wọ́n sọ pé òun nìkan ló gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe ẹ padà lọ àìmọye tó lọ tó sá padà ẹ lọ nísìnyí wọ́n ti dìbò tán ẹ yé ṣe ojú méjì ń tẹ́ bá máa ṣe jẹ́ kó yàn mọ́ pé yẹ síbi tí mo dúró sí nì kì í ṣe kẹ́ ṣe léyìn níwájú kẹ́ wá ṣe ìlẹ́yìn Ọlọ́run ò fẹ́ òtítọ́ lóòótọ́ kò sẹ́ni tó mọ̀ tán máa èmi ò ní tẹ̀lé òfo láyé mi wọ́n ti gba Yorùbá nation wọ́n ti gba ẹ̀wá kan ọmọ ọlọ́mọ wọ́n máa yìí wà nínú ibẹ̀ ẹnu yín dẹ̀ ìtún ré irú ìrìn àjò burúkú wo lẹ kọ́ ọmọ ọlọ́mọ sí ó ga fún wa Yorùbá ó ṣe gbọ́ àbẹ́ ẹ̀gbọ́ bàbá ń tán sọ wọ́n ní èèyàn aburú ni Yorùbá èèyàn aburú ní Yorùbá tí a bá tún máa pọ́n yín lẹ́sìn kẹ́ lè máa tẹ̀lé wọn á tún bọ̀ tà wá Yorùbá dá Yorùbá ṣe kinní kan lórí irọ́ a mọ̀ pé kò sẹ́yà tí ò sí ṣùgbọ́n ẹ sòótọ́ fún wa ẹ sòótọ́ ibi tẹ́ bá lọ ní kẹjẹ́ àmọ̀ ẹ̀yin wàá gbé wa ní mugun kẹ́yìn fi búrẹ́dì kó wa lọ́bẹ̀ jẹ ẹ̀yin máa ṣe tiyín àwọn ẹlẹ́sìn kìíní ẹlẹ́sìn kejì ẹlẹ́sìn kẹta oníkálùkù máa ṣe tiẹ̀ kí ló dé Yorùbá jẹ́ àrònú decision tó bá wọn olóyè Ìgbòho òun ni kò ṣe ọmọ ọlọ́mọ ẹ má gbé fẹ́kùn pajẹ o ẹ má gbé ọmọ ọlọ́mọ fẹ́kùn pajẹ ẹ imagine tó bá jẹ́ yín ló bí Ìgbòho níyà yẹn àbẹ́yìn níyàwó ẹ̀ ibi tẹ́yìn wà wọ́n wá ń gbé yín wá sórí kínní ìwà arọ ń tútùkùtù ó dẹ̀ ń dùn lẹ́nu ẹ̀ òròpò tí rí nǹkan sọ nǹkan yóò pọ̀ tó máa sọ kí ló fẹ́ sọ ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń dalẹ̀ ni kí ló fẹ́ sọ kí ló wà lẹ́nu ẹ̀ wọ́n kó owó fún yín ó pín oyè kan ìwọ lógún dojúkọ ni àbí ọlá tí ẹ lè ró fi tẹ̀lé wọn tán lọ káàkiri kò níbi tó ti ń bọ̀ tán náà ó bàjẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ ológun ọ̀fẹ́ tó ti ń bọ̀ ẹ kàn máa gbéyàn mọ́ra ẹ máa purọ́ òṣì àtèyí tó lọ́mọ ogun àtèyí tí ò lọ́mọ ogun ẹ máa lẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́mọ ogun ẹ kàn da orí àwọn èèyàn rú wọ́n kàn náwó lásán wọ́n kàn dáwó lẹ̀ fún yín ẹ̀yin náà dẹ̀ lérò pé kinní ìgbẹ̀yìn lójú mi ò ní sọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ Oloye Egbo bá ṣe ẹ̀yin náà ẹ lọ́mọ ńlé àbí ibikíbi tẹ́ bá lọ́mọ sí ẹ kó wọn lọ kán lọ gba Yorùbá nation fún yín kò jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ Mr. Jinod, Mr. Rob, mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ gbogbo yín. Yorùbá no 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 no. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni Mr. Rob, bẹ́ẹ̀ ni Ìgbòho ò lè dá ṣe, kò sẹ́ńtẹ́ lè gbá wá tó lè dá ṣe Yorùbá nation yìí tẹ́ ẹ̀ bá fi tọ̀wọ́n olóṣèlú ṣe. Ó dẹ̀ ń bá yín sọ ẹ̀ ń sọ nǹkan míì, igi kan dágbó ṣe ni. Ó dẹ̀ ń purọ́ fún yín, àwọn ò bá politician ṣe, àwọn ò ṣe kinní kan. It don't make sense. Ẹ̀yin náà ẹ jókòó kẹ́ wò náà, ṣé ó make sense wọn ò bá politician ṣe? Kán ṣe tiwọn lọ́tọ̀. Ekpan Salmon lẹ fẹ́ bá ṣe. Ẹ jọ ayé tàn wá. Ẹ ṣé mo dúpẹ́ jàre. Ẹ ṣé o. Àtúpàdé pẹ́ láyọ̀. Mo dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín. Kò make sense. Ẹ bá àwọn wo lẹ wá fẹ́ bá ṣe? Ẹ ń complain nípa èèyàn kan pé ó dínú, kò bá àwọn kan sọ̀rọ̀, kò ṣe kinní kan. Ẹ̀yin náà wá tún sọ pé kí lágbájá, kí ni ìyàtọ̀ yín? Olóríire ṣoríire congratulate. Aláṣeyọrí láyé máa kíkẹ́. Ẹ kó sọ̀hún. Ẹ jọ̀ọ́ ó dàbọ̀ ẹ̀yin èèyàn mi. Àtúpàdé. Mo dúpẹ́ o. Ẹ ṣé o.